Well, guys, we are back for another episode of the Liberal Asshole Show, episode 101. And what are today's topics?
Do not support bad faith actors on Hamas-ISRAELI war. American-Australian xenophobia comparisons. Russia terrorist attack in Germany foiled. Republicans rage at Ukraine aid. Should Dems help save Mike Johnson? They did. Police shootout in Charlotte. And what does the left get wrong on?
Alright, so what do you want to talk about first?
Do not support bad faith actors on Hamas-Israeli war.
I should have told you to emphasize it, because it's all caps I wrote down, because it's been something that's been absolutely infuriating me.
Do not support bad faith actors on Hamas-Israeli war.
Like, screaming out and all that. But yeah, guys, this has been something that has been bugging me immensely, especially on Twitter and all, for like the last month or so. It really got heated up, of course, when Israel and Iran had their like shooting missiles at each other recently and all that. And that is very, very bad faith actors on this. Like, and I'm not talking about like the Jackson Dinkelbergs and all them. We know they're bad faith. I'm talking about more like overt that might actually get people not realize what they're falling into. And I'm referring to people that are like actual anti-Semites, but like hide it up in a way that could convince even the progressives to fall into the trap. It's something I've noticed, and I want it to be pointed out to make sure you don't fall for this trap. Now, you're probably wondering, what am I talking about? Well, one thing I saw that was very, very common. Every time this comes up like on Twitter, I have to point out immediately to make sure everyone falls for it. Someone will usually like post like a tweet or something saying like Israel does like war crimes and all the yada, like all the insane progressive stuff. You're like, yeah, all that's true and all that. And they post a video in the tweet and all that. But guess who is in the tweet? The video.
Oh.
Most of the times, Nick Fuentes.
Oh God, a literal the neo-Nazi gay cat boy.
Yeah. All the things you say in that tweet are instantly null and void when you post that dipshit on there. And there's others too. Oh my God. These guys, like Nick Fuentes people, he is an actual Nazi. He actually hates Jews. And I've seen a lot of people also, unfortunately, this is like an even more obvious red flag. A lot of times where they'll say like Israeli war crimes and whatever, instead of saying Israeli or the Israeli government, they'll say like Jews and all that. And it's like, yep, that's red flag.
Triple parenthesis stuff.
Yep, that's red flag right there. When you see that, run away from that instantly. Even if they say stuff that normally would be base, run away instantly from that and call it out immediately. Like I have to do on Twitter all the time. It's bugging me to death. And the bigger problem with it is these idiots lead to other idiots that are pro-Israeli to think everyone that supports the Palestinians is anti-Semitic, which is what we get to deal with. It's these people that empower the other idiots, because they're both freaking wrong. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like nuance is like completely out the door with, oh my God, this is so fucking infuriating, all that. People, all of us on the pro-Palestinian side, do not, and I repeat, do not fall for bad faith actors on this. It's so obvious. Don't go full retard like the Israeli side, who thinks everyone criticizes Israel anti-Semitic. Like, don't support, like, which we're probably going to get to in a little bit with the foreign policy part of what the left gets wrong. Like, don't support Hamas because they're a terrorist group. October 7th was wrong, which a lot of people on the left, believe it or not, have a hard time admitting that, which I find hard to believe. It should be obvious. You can criticize and you can condemn what they did and still admit what Israel is doing is wrong.
Yep.
When you see people bring up like Jewish war crimes, globalists, and all that, immediately dismiss on sight.
Dog whistles.
Yes. When you see like Nick Fuentes,
remember when Jackson Hinkle did his MAGA communism thing, and it was like and you got through all of it, and it's like as soon as you see the word George Soros, put the triple parenthesis around every single use of the word globalist, because it's now an anti-Semitic dog whistle.
Yep. Watch for these red flags. They are so obvious, and don't fall for the traps. Because you're going to empower idiots on the Israeli side that make us look bad when we're not.
And remember that those same Zionists want to let off a nuclear weapon in Rafah and thinking Rafah, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And they're the people that want, yeah. Okay, so I've got the Juice Media, honest government as Israel as Gaza. There's about they called it the enshittement, because there's three truths in ability. One, the Hamas's attack on civilians in Israel is fucked and a violation of international law. Two,
And the second worst terrorist attack in world history, remember?
Is fucked and a violation of international law. Three, both 1 and 2 are happening in the context of an occupation which is fucked and in violation of international law. The failure to hold these three truths at the same time has been linked to uncritical exposure of the brain to bullshit propaganda, of which we in the media are the primary disseminators.
Yep, exactly. Like it's like I can't stop.
That's the full video.
It's a video, huh? Let me go check this out.
Video on it, yeah.
Ooh, can't wait to check that later on. But yeah, guys, like
more broadly, the Juice Media are good. They're really good.
How progressive?
Yep.
Ooh, maybe some we can watch in the future potentially.
Yes.
I'll have to check them out after we're done. But yeah, guys, don't fall for the traps. I'm tired of seeing people on Twitter and all these places fall for this trap, and when I see it like instantly, like, oh, you're doing so good, but then you had to promote Fuentes, Hinkleberg, and all these people. Just stop. You look stupid. Oh my God, just stop, people. Oh God, stop making it difficult for us. We need to have the high ground on this. Have nuance, people. Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. My head is hurting really badly from after dealing with that. I've been wanting to rage about that for like a month now. So I think we've covered all of it. So I guess on to the next topic.
And that will be American-Australian xenophobia comparisons.
We mentioned this in the last episode. We were going to compare how xenophobic we are between different groups and all that. And like the groups I had in mind were like blacks, indigenous groups. Of course, this is something also applied to us too, like Japanese, Chinese, or Asian groups too. I think I said Muslims.
Arabs as well.
Yeah, well, Muslims and Islamic group pretty much all together. And there was like another one I wanted to talk about, but now I can't think of who it is, unless you got other people in mind or ethnic groups.
Not really, because there's a couple of different, because of our different geographic locations, there are like groups for one that aren't the other.
I mean, you can maybe add on like LGBT and women too, even though they're not an ethnic group.
Yes.
All right. So let's see, who's worse depending on each ethnic group? I guess we'll start off with blacks first.
America's a lot worse. Australia. Our record towards black people isn't great, but it's a lot better than America.
You're saying you did?
I asked an Aboriginal person, where would they rather live, Australia or America? And I'm not even kidding you. He said he would rather be black in Australia than white in America.
Wow!
Yeah.
So damn it!
As bad as our cops are, they are nowhere near as bad as America.
Oh, that hurts. Oh, my God. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of difficult to beat when you, let's see, 200 plus years of slavery. And then, of course, 100 years of that after the Revolutionary War, which should have ended right there. But, of course, the South were going to revolt and cause problems if we didn't let them stay and all that. Then they got violent, seceded, started the Civil War, which, yes, lost causers if you're there. The Civil War was about slavery. It was about slavery. It was about slavery.
Slaves.
Everything you can think of, it revolves back to slaves. And you got violent, you attacked Fort Sumter, you started, you lost, Cope Steve Mold all this day later. And of course you caused the bloodiest war in American history. So for all of you who don't know, the Civil War, when it comes to American casualties, was more deadly than World War II. By quite a considerable amount too. Depending on the highest numbers, almost double the deaths from World War II in comparison. So you side, the slavery caused the worst casualty history in American history, and then even after the end of slavery, 100 years of Jim Crow, segregation, and all that, and that ended like 60 years ago, and still haven't been dealing with systemic racism, so
Exactly. Yeah.
We were really, really bad when it comes to blacks. But this one, actually, I think can provide a legitimate challenge for not only to how we treat blacks, but could be almost equal, like an actual good debate on it. And that's the indigenous groups. Oh, boy. Oh, my God.
Both sides genocided their populations. Genocided their indigenous populations. As did basically every group that a Western or Southwestern European country did.
Aboriginals, Native Americans. I don't even who. It sounds like almost a tie at that point.
How bad's the taking away of children from Native Americans? Is that a common thing?
That was pretty common. I think it was more common in Canada, though.
Oh, I'm going to say it now. Then Australia's worse because we still do that quite regularly.
Yeah, and I think Canada does that too, which is really, really bad.
Yes.
Yeah, America's. It sounds like more like the things that America's done bad with Native Americans have been long gone and all that. And I mean, to be fair, like a lot of the deaths and the genocide and the taking over stuff was before America was founded, but still, what we did afterwards when we came around was really, really, really bad. And I get a lot of triggering from the left when I say this. I still think America treated Native Americans way worse than blacks. I don't even think it's even close. Like, yeah, we enslaved blacks. We enslaved Native Americans too, and genocided them and took their land. We kidnapped blacks for crying out. We took Native Americans' lands and all that. And oh my God, what we do to this today is still really bad. They need. If anyone deserves reparations, it's Native Americans first and foremost. And that's another thing that the left gets triggered on when I say that. Because how dare you say it over blacks? Oh my God. But yeah, that sounds pretty bad and all that. Ugh. Just horrible.
Another group we could include, Jews. I joined more broadly instead of Zionists from Israel, Zionists from Israel's far-right government specifically.
Yeah, America does have some anti-Semitism, but I think it was probably more of an issue back at the beginning of the 20th century.
Yeah.
And leading up to like World War II and such. Especially Henry Ford and Charles Lindbergh and all that. Oh my God. What anti-Semitism does Australia have?
It's usually like the traditional far-right conspiracy theories.
I bet
there's been a bit of defacing of a few Jewish places.
You get a protocol, Elders of Zion. You get a copy. You get a copy. Pretty much.
And not really like. Other than that, like, not really a huge amount. So I'd say we're a bit, but also like Albo and Wong have, in the last couple of months, finally come around to calling for peace and a two-state solution.
Based. So it sounds like Jews, which will trigger a lot of the Israelis, are probably the least worse off groups between our two countries. Oh boy, they're not going to like that because they think Jews have it rough in America. You don't. It's safer in America to be Jew than Israel. Sorry if you don't like that inconvenient fact. All right. So now, how about we get... Ooh, this one is going to hit right home, especially for me, growing up with it. Muslims. Does Australia have a Islamophobic problem? Not that I know of. I bet now, because what happened recently, it probably gone up.
Yes. It's up and down. I think it's not really like most of our focus is on the economy and recently on women, on domestic violence.
Yeah.
That's our main thing there. So the far right don't really have a lot of time to
be racist to Muslims.
Fearmonger about Muslims. It was bad for a time after October 7th, but like it's almost like it's come down a little bit.
I guess this
it's not as bad as it was.
Like, was this a big problem growing up like it was for me?
I didn't really know. There was quite a bit.
Because I think...
Yeah, it's because I know Pauline Hanson of White Nation, her second speech was ranting about Muslims.
Because
It was just an adaptation of her older one about Asians.
Because I'm pretty sure in terms of like per capita, we both have about the same amount of Muslims, like 1% or so.
Yeah, as a percentage, yeah. About 2%, about 2.5, 2 to 2.5% in Australia.
So I think this one, hands down, America. I'm probably too heavily biased,
Yeah.
but I grew up after 9/11. I saw Islamophobia firsthand and all that, because there's a lot of Muslims in Maryland. Hate crimes against Muslims for like skyrocketed immediately after 9/11. So many of them were killed by racists across the country. Oh my God! Up till probably like COVID, Muslims were demonized by everyone across a country for like 20 years, to the point where you and I had to be called Islamic apologists to defend Muslims against racists. Remember? And then we also get, oh my God, you remember the SJW phase where we got shit for just defending Muslims and criticizing Islam at the same time. Because you can't be both, guys. You can't criticize the bad things of Islam while also condemning rape and xenophobia against them. Oh my God, it was so annoying dealing with those stupid fucks back then. Oh my God. I guess the only thing I could say is thank God the last few years finally starting to calm down. But man, it was really bad having to see all that BS. Up there with like LGBT people back then too, growing up, seeing the oppression they had to deal with. Oh God, it was horrible. Oh boy. Especially, oh my God. Oh God, it was really bad. Alright, now this one probably would apply to both Asians, but more particularly like Chinese and Japanese. Maybe we'll do Japanese first. It's more historical. Oh boy,
Australia had internment camps as well. We interned Japanese people. We persecuted them in World War II.
Just like we did.
Yep.
Of course, I wonder how bad it was. I wonder how, in terms of percentage population-wise, it was back then too.
I don't know.
Because like 100,000 Japanese Americans back then and all that. But man, that was really, really bad. We even had a freaking Supreme Court case to get them free, but no, and all that. Just fucking racism. Only saving grace was at least they got reparations afterwards. Because man, they got fucked over really bad at the end for crying out loud. So yeah, that's really, really bad. And of course, America definitely was very racist to Asians. And unfortunately, because of COVID in China, racism against Asians is going up again, as Mayumi said before, remember?
It's level. I mean, we've had, about, how long ago was it? Probably about a year now. An Asian building in Chinatown actually had their windows smashed.
Of course. No surprise.
We've had attacks in Chinatown,
and of course,
a strip of Asian buildings, Asian companies and buildings and eateries and that in the city. Haven't been there in years, but my family used to go there once every school holidays.
So, like, any xenophobia against Japanese right now?
Not really, no. It's pretty much all Chinese at the moment.
Yeah, no surprise in that regard. So let's see, now let's get to Chinese. Oh boy, the Chinese Exclusion Act. Look how bad that was. And that didn't get removed till World War II and all that. Oh boy, that was pretty bad. How we treat them. We expelled them for crying out loud. Look, try and top that.
Not real. I mean, looks like we'd say. I'm going to say yes. We've been hostility group. Yep. Oh yes, we had the White Australia policy. That's right. We were trying to make Australia a white ethno state. That's right. And so we basically excluded everyone that wasn't white.
Yep, and our immigration policy was kind of the same way too, somewhat back then. Even not even allowing like certain Europeans.
Chinese
remember,
Immigration Act as well to allow Chinese people to migrate to Australia again. That was only repealed in 1945.
Yeah, right after World War II, just like us.
Yep.
Because we realized we can't discriminate against an ally in World War II as they were being genocided. Pretty bad. It took something like that to fix it. It should have never been happening from the very start, people. So it sounds like when it comes to Asians, we're both pretty equal in that regard. Oh my God. Well, I guess now we can go to, instead of ethnic groups, maybe to other minorities or like oppressed people. How about, especially since you just brought up to women, how bad is it down there?
Yeah. Well, we're really working on. We've got well, domestic violence is a hot button topic at the moment, which is the big one.
How is domestic violence viewed down there? Because you know how it's complicated
Yeah.
in America, as you know. Most people hate,
Yes.
but it happens way too frequently.
Yeah, we've got that same thing. Finally, we're like, okay, like we gotta allow we gotta get involve men to play their part in changing the culture. And finally, like that's finally being acknowledged.
And our
It's
incels
like
mad about it.
It's more trying to foster cultural change, and also like the big thing I think we still need to do, and this is probably the case globally, is find healthier ways to get out your emotions. Why
And
both genders, but particularly men.
yes, this is something that the left doesn't talk about a lot. Demonizing men and all that. What's fun enough, they actually a lot of times promote toxic masculinity, which they claim to be against, which I find hilarious. So yeah, we're gonna get to that. So it sounds like we're both. It's complicated when it comes to women's rights. I mean, compared to like other places in the world, we're like a paradise in comparison. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but remember also like I can't remember I've lost my train of thought.
There's one thing you could probably say maybe a little bit better than us now in terms of women's rights. You guys have probably better abortion protections now, unlike us.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Which is
we do. We have
that's
better.
Something, yeah, that's something I could used to flex on, but now I can't anymore. Thank you, cunt conservatives.
Yep, we've got
in terms of price, overall state percentage-wise, probably better than us. Like almost half for us.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Swear, fuck you conservatives for that. All right, and then on to the next one, LGBT. Oh my god.
This one's it's far worse in America.
Yeah.
They're trying to do things in Australia, but it's just not working.
Because you guys aren't probably as hardcore Christian as we are.
Nope.
Oh my god, yep. Just like with Muslims growing up in the 2000s, LGBT were discriminated immensely. And that was like one of the big reasons why I became a progressive and an atheist, as we covered at the very beginning of this series. Because I did not like seeing LGBT and Muslims being discriminated by people when they're trying to mind their business. Then, I don't like Karens back then before the word came around, and they triggered me to becoming progressive. So, thank you, conservatives. You're your own worst nightmare. Let's go. So, how is it down there?
What was it again? I've missed LGBT people.
What?
Right? What? I'm also confused. I've lost my train of thought.
How is it down there for LGBT?
Pretty good. LGBs, it's good. It's not quite as good for the T's, but it's a lot better than it is in. Well, we've got the same.
Oh no! Don't tell me J.K. Rowling cunts are down there too. Please no.
Yeah, not as many. No. Remember her TERF neo-Nazi girlfriend?
Oh no.
She got chased out of Melbourne after but not before we had Nazis attend. Yeah. Yep, she got chased out of Melbourne after the was it Melbourne or was it Hobart? It was one of them. There was Hobart she got chased out of, but in Melbourne we had neo-Nazis show up and see
them out of here. Consider the game.
Yep. Also remember she had there were also neo-Nazis who showed up and Sieg Heil at her thing.
Oh no.
And,
guys,
for the record, Sieg Heiling is illegal in several states in Australia.
Oh boy. And guys, since we brought up J.K. Rowling recently, just for y'all who don't know, she's now denying the Holocaust now.
Yep, she's now she's gone full TERF neo-Nazi. I'm still amazed that TERF neo-Nazi is a thing.
Same here. Man, must be rough being a Harry Potter fan with all this. Glad I never got into that fandom. So yeah, it seems when it comes to xenophobia, Some were just as bad on. Some, depending on the country, were worse on.
There you go.
Oh no.
Yep.
Oh no. Were they doing the Sieg Heil with the flag? Oh no.
Yeah, they were pretty fucking
nauseous feeling?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Or embarrassed like I would be? Because
I was very annoyed.
Okay.
But it's not surprising considering, you know,
ooh, now that you mention it, even though not a press group, maybe we should bring up white supremacists. Who's worse in that regard?
America's way worse.
Yep.
Historically, I'd actually say Australia was worse at points.
Yeah, because you guys actually
Australia policy.
Yeah, because
of the white Australia, because of the Nazi Australia policy.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to call it because it is.
Yeah, America.
But, yeah, modern day. They're not really much of a voice. We had one neo-Nazi in Parliament, and they literally, he was despised. Even Pauline Hanson didn't like him, and he was in her party. And I remember that, well, I say One Nation, I should really be calling them White Nation, because the broader party is white nationalists.
Oh, boy. And historically I would say, too, because as bad as America was, we weren't an outright ethno-state. We were too diverse. Even when we had slavery and all that, we were still way too diverse to be an outright ethno-state, which is quite insane. Like at America's highest white population point in 1940 to 1950 was like only 90%, which is probably way too low to be even close to an ethno-state. But yeah, white supremacy in America is really bad. But hey, they do provide good comedy for us to laugh at.
Yes.
Fucking idiots. Get triggered and all that. Alright, so hopefully no more bad things to talk about right now. Hopefully the next topic is something good and lighthearted.
Oh, we'll find out in a moment, and it is...
Not.
Russia terrorist attack in Germany foiled.
Yeah, guys. Just 2 days after we filmed the last episode, as Dylan Byrne covered, Russian spies tried to do a terrorist attack in Germany to not only attack German supplies for weapons for Ukraine, but also America. So they try to do both. I don't think they realize what they're doing would be a horrific idea. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
You do know what happens. You do know what you're playing fire with, right? You're potentially trying to you're pretty much are trying to goat America and Germany to start war with you and bring all of NATO in. And first off, you're not going to beat America. That ain't debatable. I don't even think you'd beat Germany. I think that Germany would probably crush you with no problem because they are the strongest in Europe. But then you're going to goat them to bring in all of NATO in? It would be funny watching how quickly they would collapse. It would be embarrassing. So, wrong video. So yeah, this, no one's really talked about, and this something is somewhat serious that should be talked about. Even Burns pointed out, no one's talked about this. So let's watch this.
It's a big deal. It should be treated like a big deal, but it's getting no attention. So let's talk about it. Germany has arrested 2 suspected Russian spies over a bombing plot. Now, before I get into, everything else, I want to talk about the legitimacy of the claim.
And do I need to remind you too, Russia, what happened the last 2 times you fought with Germany, how bad it went for you?
Yep.
Because the source for this is, of course, the German...
And I don't care if you won the second one, you still lost 20 million people.
...government who was doing the investigation.
Yeah.
But to be blunt with you guys, I'm more likely to believe this not only because of previous reports we're going to get into in the future, but also because one of the suspects in question also fought for the Russians in the Donbass between 2014 and 2016. So fought for them in 2 years with the Russian illegal invasion of Ukraine that was under wraps, but not really under wraps, that they denied, but were also kind of doing it openly, as many OPSEC reports were able to show. Now, this is not the first attempt at industrial sabotage or undermining of Ukrainian support, which was going to be the target of these attacks was going to be to try to undercut support for Ukraine by bombing different important locations, whether it be a U.S. military base, which was considered, or German industry, which was also considered. Could you imagine the Russians just planting bombs in an American military base, the bases that are training the Abrams crews, so they
we'd be carpet bombing Moscow if they did that.
Yeah, like Russia, you're messing with the wrong, and I mean the absolute wrong trees if you mess with America, Germany. Like don't even try.
Why do you think China hasn't attacked Taiwan yet?
Yeah, and speaking of that, have you ever heard like one of the ideas they would do if they did go to war with America over Taiwan that they might potentially do? That would be very stupid.
What?
They might potentially like do missile strikes at American bases in Japan, South Korea.
What a way to bring half the fucking planet into the war. And you know that South Korea would be like, all right, these missiles go to China, and we're going to preemptively strike North Korea because we know they're about to fire their nukes at us.
And unlike last time, we're gonna win against North Korea. And and China, do you remember what happened last time when you fought Japan? Do we need to bring up the genocide they did against you for like a decade? Like don't even try it. You know damn well if you do attack on American base in Japan, South Korea, you're gonna bring those two in. That ain't debatable. Just don't try.
To pilot the Abrams, they just plant bombs in there, blow it up, and end up killing American soldiers, maybe by accident. Because again, these are not like the most top level spies. These are people they're trying to recruit in order to do their spying for them, in large part as foreigners, in order to do their sabotage for them. Another example would be earlier in the war, the Russians were caught trying to hire, and this is so fucked up. This actually gets under my skin a little bit. They were trying to hire refugees to take a bomb and plant it in the Polish railway system to blow it up so that the railway system would be so destroyed and damaged, it would be unable to transport goods, especially goods, to Ukraine, since Poland is the main way how support to Ukraine gets to Ukraine. And since Russia cannot directly strike NATO without, possibly triggering Article 5 unless they wanted to probe
Which
it.
you would if something like this happened. Don't even try it.
Idea was to try to give a bomb
You're gonna
to a
lose.
refugee and tell them to blow it up for money. So taking advantage of refugees who are unbelievably in a horrible position with them fleeing the war, poor, trying to bribe them into blowing up a railway, knowing for sure that they would get caught. Not only would they get caught, but then they would face serious legal repercussions as a refugee. So they would be a refugee and they'd be a criminal. Not a good time. So this isn't the first time that this has been, and even if we wanted to go closer to industrial sabotage, we can actually go back to like 2014 when there were explosions that happened at Czech ammunition facilities back in 2014 when the war with Ukraine was first going on, and this facility was providing munitions to the Ukrainians. So this is not something that's 100%
And this I didn't even hear about till I watched
but
this
they
video.
are getting more bold, and it's a lot easier to connect them to it since we're finding out like this was 100% like a Russian operation from the Germans. Let's read a little bit into the article. Bavarian police have arrested and accused 2 men of being Russian secret agents planning to bomb industrial and military sites in Germany to disrupt the delivery of aid to Ukraine. The 2 German-Russian nationals were detained in raids on Wednesday morning by the way, can I just throw out there that bombings that kill people can still be considered like an attack on the country, just like the apartment bombings could be considered casus belli to try to attack another country, or like that's what the Russians use to try to justify their invasion and then occupation of Chechnya. And so if they ended up bombing a U.S. military base and killing some personnel, and if you bomb a munitions factory, I do want to throw out there that a munitions factory is pretty explosive, so there'd be a chance that you would just set up the whole thing ablaze and then you kill a bunch of people. So this is something that carries real risk to not only, of course, the supply line.
Remember the explosion in Beirut 4 years ago, people?
I remember that.
That's how
the
big
two
it would be.
German Russian nationals were detained in raids on Wednesday morning by police special forces in the town of Bayreuth in southeast Germany, according to a federal prosecutor's office. Dieter, 39, and Alexander, 37, had been in communication with Russia's military intelligence agency to plan acts of sabotage on German soil. The Russian spy agency has been accused by Western governments of an attempted assassination in 2018 of Sergei Skripal. They actually did carry out a successful assassination of a former Chechen soldier, and I believe it was in a Berlin park. They just went up, bam, 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 killed them. And ever since, the Russians have been trying to get that assassin back. There was actually rumors that Putin was going to trade Alexei Navalny for the guy who assassinated that Chechen national. The Russian spy agency has been accused of Western governments of attempted assassinations in 2018 of Sergei Skripal and his daughter in Salisbury, England, and other murders across Europe in recent years, including a fatal
Tier 4 subscription.
Hey!
Unstealthy sub.
Thank you for the unstealthy sub. But it was still stealthier than the Russian intelligence agencies, including a 2019 fatal attack in Berlin. Russia has stepped up its undercover activities in Europe in recent months, but the possible use of agents to carry out violent attacks in the EU is a sign of the Kremlin's growing boldness and risk appetite, according to European security officials. The arrested suspects are alleged to have scouted targets that include a U.S. military base, again, which would have U.S. soldiers, putting U.S. personnel at risk, and the Ukrainian soldiers being trained there at risk. Industrial and transport facilities had also been identified for potential attacks by them. Photographs, videos, and maps, so I think pretty good evidence that they were trying to scout it out, had been made of the sites that might be suitable targets. Our security authorities have prevented possible explosive attacks that were intended to target and undermine our military assistance to Ukraine. It is a particularly serious case of alleged spy activity for Putin's criminal regime, said Germany's Interior Minister Nancy Faeser. We will continue to provide massive support for Ukraine and will not allow ourselves to be intimidated, she added.
If anything, you might encourage Germany to do even more, so good job, Putin.
Suspects.
Thank you.
Had been on the radar of German security authorities for some time. Between 2014 and 2016, he was active in eastern Ukraine as a fighter for the Russian-led separatists in the Donetsk region, according to a German federal prosecutor. Germany has emerged as the leading, let me just read this last one. Germany has emerged as a leading target for Russian clandestine operations in Europe. Berlin is the country's largest supplier of military aid to Ukraine, and under its current government has upended a decades-long policy of engagement with Russia following the Kremlin's brutal full-scale invasion of its neighbor.
Remember how pacified Germany was at the end of World War II, people?
Yep.
And same goes for Japan, too, but look what Russia's done. Now they're militarizing them. And you don't want to make... You remember what happened last? I'm not kidding, Russia. You remember what happened last time you faced Germany twice? It didn't end pretty for you. Don't try it. Just don't try it.
Russian intelligence agencies have tried to tap into still widespread German unease about supporting Ukraine and exploit gaps in the country's domestic security, which is still relatively permissive compared with other NATO states owing to its historical concern over government surveillance and policing. Germany's security agencies say they're increasing their counterintelligence efforts. It is barely a month since authorities arrested a senior officer in the defense ministry who they said was passing secret equipment procurement plans to Russia. Now, this is probably the most bold operation that the Russians have attempted to use Russian-German people, the Russian-German community, because there's a quite large Russian community in Germany, and specifically a fighter to try to do a bombing, which, who knows, could it have killed U.S. soldiers? What was the full plan? Could it have killed German workers at a company like Rheinmetall, who was making weapons for Ukraine? This is on top of the attempts to bomb the rail lines in Poland. So bombing attempts in Poland, bombing attempts in Germany, possible bombing attempts back even in 2014 when we talk about the Czech Republic. We're not even talking about the communication lines that were damaged in the Baltic Sea that many people suspect was the Russians as well. People talk about Nord Stream, remember? Those lines that were cut by an anchor being dragged across the water, probably a Chinese ship from the story that I read. Could have been collaboration. Who knows? Point is, though, the Russian, even though we don't know due to the vagueness and purposeful obscurity that the Russians are trying to keep these operations, to keep the public from knowing this, the Russians are attempting to engage in industrial sabotage in Europe. The Russians are attempting to use violence to undermine support for Ukraine. They aren't just using violence, mind you. They are also trying.
Holy cow, Dylan Burns wasn't even off. I actually looked it up. There are 3.5 million Russians in Germany. Holy cow. I didn't think it was going to be that high. Jeez.
Trying to buy out support.
Yeah.
We already know that a ton of Moldovan politicians have been caught with literal bags and bags of cash.
That's like
given
almost
to them
5% of
by
the
Russian
population, I
agents in order
think.
to take pro-Russian policies in Moldova. And there's also been recent reports from the Czech media of German far-right candidates who would have thought the AfD being accused of taking Russian money to spread Russian misinformation. And this is Peter Breiston, who...
Alternative for Germany people is a neo-Nazi party, too, just so you all
Yeah.
know.
Oh, by the way...
Which, I'm pretty sure neo-Nazi parties are banned in Germany, so I don't even know how they would even have any sort of power whatsoever.
They're using
Wait.
code. They're using code words.
No,
claims
trying
to
to
be
weed
the
their way
foreign
around
policy
it, huh?
voice
Yeah.
of the AfD, which is seeing its popularity rise and is likely to gain more seats in the European Parliament as it rises to about, I think, like 20% in the polls, which doesn't sound like a lot from an American perspective, but trust me, when it comes to a far-right party in Germany, and it comes to, you know, where the other parties are polling right now, that is very sizable. As they're trying
Germany
to
has
normalize their
proportional
party
representation,
and try
too.
to find some way to get involved in some sort of coalition government to get themselves into power. This is on top of the fact that multiple AfD elected members have traveled to occupied Ukrainian territories, praised the occupation, praised the
you.
Donetsk People's Republic, etc., and even did some versions of election monitoring on behalf of the Russians, so helping them engage in their occupation.
Sure, pal,
This is on top
sure.
of accusations of
No
monetary
election rigging
payments
here, pal.
and proof of monetary payments that we've had in Moldova. That's on top of the monetary payments that we know that they were doing, the corruption that they were fostering in Ukraine. So this offensive is multifaceted. It's financial. It's been through misinformation as well. We've talked about before how the Russians have tried to increase racial animus in the United States. They didn't organize a Black Lives Matter rally. Then they didn't organize a counter protest at that same rally. And then the organizer would never show up because it was the Russians. It was Dmitry Prigozhin's group. Or they would try to do similar things with other issues as well. We've seen the Russians trying to invest heavily into the Texit movement. And it's not hard to spot the Texit bots as they're talking about, oh yes, we love Texas and our warm water port.
Oh my gosh, I remembered
The bots aren't even
that.
trying, man.
Texas
They're not even trying.
Succession,
Yes,
yeah,
we
sure,
love
like
the
you're able to do that,
Texas
pal.
old blast in our warm water port. Yeehaw, yippee-ki-yay, indeed. Come on, it's embarrassing, but it's still not good for our national security. It's still not good for our stability. I don't want other countries going here purposely trying to increase animus in the United States because for the Russians, best case
I
scenario,
don't even think they need to
we
do
all
it. That's
start
just
shooting each other.
self-inflicted on
We
our
all start
part.
saying, screw our neighbor.
Yeah.
He disagrees with me on politics. Bam, 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 bam. That's bad. We shouldn't do that. That's terrible. But if you look at more fringe members of the Russian, you know what, I don't want to get too much into the Russian ideological conversation, all their infiltration in the United States. I want to stick to this. This is different, though. This is different than the spreading of misinformation. This is different than the spreading of finances in order to try to buy favoritism. This is a violent approach. This is the attempt of organizing bombings in NATO countries. If there was some successful bombing and they ended up killing like 40 staff, 50 staff at Rheinmetall, I mean, the United States called upon NATO countries in Article
And Germany
5
too.
after 9/11. Well, there's no way you'd get to the same death toll, even if the bombing of Rheinmetall led to the whole facility blowing up. We're working with
They would have a
munitions,
valid response,
after all.
just like with
It would not
9/11.
be the same. It would still be an attack on Germany. It'd still be an attack that could kill civilians. Or what if it ended up killing American soldiers? What would our response be? What if the Russians were to just deny all culpability? Would the West be prepared to say, we don't believe you, we're responding in some strong way? When the Russians had their missiles crossing into Polish airspace to do loop-de-loops before going back and hitting Ukrainian infrastructure, the Poles knew about it and they didn't shoot it down.
Which they should.
Why didn't they shoot it down? Are they scared of escalation? Was it not enough
It's
time?
a
'cause it was
missile.
only in Polish
What are they going
airspace
to do
for 30
about it?
seconds?
Whoop-de-doo.
If they don't respond,
Shoot them down, and then Poland needs to shoot them down and send a message. Stop sending send missiles in our territory to attack Ukraine. Go fuck off. We mean business. Plus, I would honestly say Poland might even be stronger than Russia now.
Well, the,
So you don't want to mess with the
Russians think that they
Poles.
can just do it again
Yes.
and again, and then go deeper in the Polish airspace. Not only testing to see if they can use Poland's airspace as a tool to attack Ukraine, but possibly see if they can just probe NATO defenses generally. Look at their response times. Look at Poland's response time. And hey, after Ukraine, Poland's right there.
They'll
Poland
go
would-
Moldova
Poland
and
would-
Georgia next.
Yeah, Poland would whoop their ass if they tried anything.
Yeah.
Not even with just NATO. They would just whoop their ass like Finland style.
This is the type of stuff that has to be taken
Yeah.
very, very, very seriously. There is a multifaceted approach to try to undercut support for Ukraine because they
This
know
would be the exact
that the West was
opposite, though. That's the
politically
thing.
determined,
Yeah.
and they invested
This
into
would
their
empower
industry to support
Ukraine.
Ukraine through the long effort.
Yeah,
Even
by
if
bringing all
Ukraine doesn't
NATO
take
in,
back
we're gonna
every
crush
inch of
you.
territory, which is going to do whether we or if they're going to attempt to do whether we like it or not. Even if they can't achieve that, if they were to be in a well-suited negotiating position, well-armed, willing to look at the Russians and say, "Hey, we can fight this out. You want to walk away from the negotiating table? Fine. Send another 100, 200, 300,000 Russians to their death. See how long this favoritism."
Almost 500,000 casualties on most people in the 2 years.
Yeah.
That is just unsustainable.
The political apathy that you've manufactured.
Do you know Michael Clark?
Maybe.
He's like a British war analyst on Sky News TV, I think it is. Like, he's like one of the most trustable people you could probably watch on the news that covers this stuff. Like, he was saying, like, the last, like, since October, Russia's losing, like, over 900 people a day on average. Like, it's just unsustainable.
Russia turns into disdain for the regime as more of their young die. Let's see how long we can wait this out. If they have the leverage to keep fighting, or the leverage to keep destroying the Russian army, or to possibly turn the tide, the Russians will be much more likely to negotiate on Ukraine's terms, on terms that we
Especially
like.
now they've gotten aid
And so
recently. Thank
if
you,
they can
finally.
undermine that
Fuck you,
support
cunt
and make it
Republicans,
so
though.
Ukraine is isolated.
Yeah.
Then they
And
can
we're gonna get
negotiate
that
on
next,
Russian
I
terms,
think.
or not negotiate at all and just keep going. People talking about the Russians negotiating, when to negotiate. Look, the Russians play with negotiation as a way to delay aid. Maybe they mean it, maybe they don't. It's impossible to tell. But after so many times of saying peace, never mind invade, peace, never mind invade, you certainly can't take them out.
Same
after
goes for
word
threatening
after 200
nukes, which
rounds
will be
of failed
disaster for
negotiation
them.
and over 20 failed negotiated ceasefires. It's going to be kind of hard to take them at face value. And so you need to make sure that the support's going in. And so if they can isolate Ukraine, then they can undermine that strategy, take Ukraine on its own, and maybe get away from this disaster of a war with some victory. But I didn't think they would go so far as to consider bombing American bases. I didn't think they'd go that far. But this makes me start conspiratizing. And I hate conspiracies. I hate it. But I start thinking about that fire in Pennsylvania a few days ago at the biggest ammunition manufacturing center in the country. It's in Pennsylvania, producing 155 millimeter shells, the exact shells that Ukraine needs for the howitzer systems we gave them, and a fire broke out there. And of course, they said there was a small fire that contained it, but because we know that this is happening now, I'm going to be looking at all those instances with suspicion. Because I'm going to be thinking, oh, was this just a small fire? Or was this industrial sabotage? Because we know that the Russians are willing.
And just so you know, guys, it may sound hard to believe because we're an ocean away. How could they even do anything? Germany did that during World War II against America. They actually did successful, like internal bombings of industrial sites in America. So if they could do it, Russia could probably do it too.
At least attempt violence in order to undermine support for Ukraine. If that is the case, what would the West's response be? If we found out that the Russians blew up a German manufacturing center, we already know that I think it was one drone manufacturing center in the Baltics caught fire and took a lot of damage, I think a year ago. I remember that coming around. But if we had evidence and we knew it was them, what would the West respond with? What would they do in response? They need to start thinking about that. They need to start crafting options on the table.
Well, we already know what would happen if they
we'll be
did it to an
flexible.
American
You need
base.
to make the Russians uncertain of attempting this stuff. You can try to thwart it, and you need to thwart these types of attacks, but you also need to make the Russians unsure of escalating with us. Not just us being unsure of escalating with them, thinking, yeah, if we blow up and kill American soldiers, that'll probably end badly for us. It's probably not a good idea. Maybe we should stop attempting to make plans around that. Because I don't want American soldiers to get blown up. I don't think most Americans want American soldiers to get blown up. And I will also give a warning, if the Russians blow up and kill American soldiers in Germany, I don't think the reaction of the United States public is going to be, oh, I think it's time to, really sit down with those Russians and talk it out. They're going to be mad.
Well, it doesn't matter what. Doesn't matter what the people think. The American government will respond.
Ask the president to respond with force to
and oh boy, Russia will feel very, very, very painful things happening.
Whether the Russians are just trying to manage risk, this is not good risk management. If this happens, this could be a real point of escalation. And the Russians need to know that. They cannot be just doing bombings in Germany. This is crazy. But if you go on CNN, if you go on MSNBC, you go on NBC News, where's the story? Where is it? I saw it on
that
GW,
is fucked up for them not talking about this.
It's in the Financial Times.
This is very important.
Feel like this should be getting a little bit more attention, especially since after this aid package passes, we're going to be providing the lion's share of military aid to Ukraine. Not necessarily aid, period. The Europeans are taking care of the financial stuff. Our financial aid is a loan. It's not even an aid anymore. This is something we need to think about on American soil. And so I'm ringing the alarm bell now to keep your eye out, man. The post-Cold War era is, I think, over. And this is just one sign of it.
So, yeah, what do you guys say about that?
Oh, that's annoying.
Russia trying to do industrial sabotage in Germany and potentially America. Well, good thing it failed, but guys, we know exactly what would happen if they successfully did this. We know exactly what's going to happen.
Boom.
They are going to feel very, very, very painful things. They're going to have to choose. What's more painful, the American hit or the German hit?
Yep.
Like, it's on. You're not going to win at that point, so don't even try. Just like Poland, shoot down those missiles already. That would be a good way to get the message out. No more fucking around. So, yeah. Now that that's out of the way, how about we get, I think, on to the next thing, which would be very funny and based finally.
Republicans raging at Ukraine's aid.
Let's go. Also, so finally, after 7 months, Ukraine aid finally passed. Fuck you, Republicans, for blocking for 6 months. Fuck you. Absolute fuck you from us.
Fucking traitors.
Go suck off Putler's dick if you want to so badly. Russia scum, get out. So, yeah, it passed. Unfortunately, they split up into different things. So, unfortunately, Israel got aid unbased. They trying to ban TikTok, not base. They trying to allow spine, which is not base. But Taiwan and Ukraine aid, absolutely based in that regard. Sucks we couldn't get the rest stopped. But, of course, Republicans are having a complete meltdown about it. Karen Green had such a Karen-level moment that she's trying to get rid of Mike Johnson, which we're going to get to which we're going to get to right after this. But, oh my god, they are having such a complete meltdown about it. I tried to find videos of Karen Green's meltdown, but I couldn't find them, unfortunately. And, of course, no one else other than Dylan is talking about it right now, but he talks about a different Karen for once having a meltdown about it. So yeah, let's see conservatives rage that they can't watch Ukrainians just die and not defend themselves. Oh, boo-hoo. The shame not letting the Ukrainians just die.
I wanted to show 2 interactions on CNN recently that kind of threw me for a loop, because it almost felt like either a denial of reality or just like it just feels like people don't know how to interact with the press or interact with questions that are slightly challenging. And we'll start with the easier one before going into the one that's even more infuriating. And this is GOP Representative, I'm really bad with her name, Militakis?
Just call her Russia's Karen. That's good enough.
Was complaining
Russo seditious
Senator Schumer, President Biden,
like we said with Karen Green, they want to go and wear a Japanese-made outfit for Putler and bend over.
And Chris Murphy, they didn't bring up Senator Langford.
And we could call massages for that one.
You know, what about that? Well, they did give something. What about that? And she just said, nope. Check this out.
him. That's wrong. So even getting an agreement to
Congresswoman, I'm sorry
reverse
to
some of
interrupt
that.
you. I just want to push the point there, though. But it is all happening. But at this moment in time, the time is of the essence on the funding for these aid bills. This stuff has not gotten.
And I want you all to remember this. This was 7 months delayed for zero fucking reason. And it could have been done back in January with that piece of shit bill that gave Republicans everything they want on immigration, and they said no because they're idiots.
Worked out in months.
Yeah, but that is
Yeah, and point out, months. Delayed for months. Thank you.
why I'm making the case that Senator Schumer and the president.
Oh yeah, finally showed the aid numbers too. Ukraine gets $61 billion of aid based. Israel gets $26 billion in aid unbased. Taiwan, Indo-Pacific gets $8 billion based. How about we take almost all of that money away from Israel, give almost all of it to Ukraine, a little bit extra to Taiwan, all of them, and that'll be awesome.
The president should be giving a little. They see what's happening to our country. Do they not see the drug cartels profiting billions of dollars by
Of course, gotta blame Mexico for this now.
Do they not see 100,000 Americans dying from fentanyl?
They did try to pass that.
Why will they not work?
And guys, if they passed the bill back in January that gave them everything they want immigration, all their problems would have been met. Like, they got everything they wanted. The only thing us on the left got was Ukraine aid. That was it. They were getting, like, everything, and they still said no. Shows that they don't give a shit,
They did try to
as far as I'm
actually.
concerned.
Well, because the former president told them to kill it. So I'm just saying
No,
it was
that's
negotiated
not
by
what
James
happened. Well,
Lankford
first of all,
and Kirsten Sinema and Chris Murphy. It was a bipartisan piece of legislation.
That's
Why are they so desperate to rewrite this history? Senator Lankford
Because they're
himself
stupid
admits
and
that
liars.
the senior Republican that was involved in
And
negotiations, a conservative senator
And
from,
desperate to
from
be
Utah,
Putler's maid.
not from fucking Libtardistan, okay? He's from Utah. He said,
I
in
wonder
an
if
interview
Putler would
on
like
Fox
stripes or
recently,
polka dots.
saying that Trump told him to kill it
Or maybe
because of
pure
the campaign
white.
season. That they didn't want to have any victories on the border right now because then maybe Biden could claim them. And so it was the choice of politics over trying to deal with the issues that you see. So, I mean, it would have passed, it would have gone through if Trump would have gave it the okay. Trump said no, and so it wasn't passed. If Trump gave it the okay, there's a good chance that this GOP representative would have voted for it. The Senate was happy with it. The Republicans were going to get concessions that now they're not going to get. They would have gotten concessions, and after the election, if Democrats have the Senate and Democrats have the House, well,
You're
even
not
if
getting
Republicans
shit.
have the Senate and the
How
House,
about
it's still gonna be
that?
an issue.
Nope, definitely not.
You're gonna have to find some compromise.
And like, you guys gotta remember, Republicans, despite having the House, they're on even worse bargain position than Democrats, for crying out loud. Like, what was it like at the beginning of last year after the 2022 midterms? It was like, didn't Republicans have like 8-seat lead in the House? Now it's shrunk.
And it's down to 1.
Yeah, 1. All it takes one Republican not sign with you, and it's tied. Would that maybe potentially be a tiebreaker for Kamala? Because that's what happens, I think, in the Senate, but I don't know about the House. But, like, that's a potential tie right there that maybe she could break, and you know she would break it. And then all it takes is 2, and all of a sudden, Democrats out of nowhere have the lead when they really shouldn't have.
Compromise unless they want to destroy the filibuster.
We have more power than you.
They have to. They're going to lose the.
We're going to get to it more when we talk about Mike
Johnson,
Johnson.
but they're not going to get the compromises that Biden put forward, and they did it for very few compromises on the Democrat side. The Democrats have been asking for a deal on the Dreamers forever. There was no deal on the Dreamers on this immigration plan. Even though
only
that has been the number
Ukraine
one, if not
people.
one
Remember
of the
that.
top
That's all
Democratic
the left was getting.
demands
That was
on the issue of immigration
that was
for like forever, ever since I've been interested in politics, and that wasn't even in there. It was a few pithy concessions. It was generally giving Republicans the lion's share of what they wanted.
Because Dems are feckless cowards that always cave on everything.
By Donald Trump. Then the Ukraine aid, after it was separated from it again, after there was this big hubbub of if we pass any Ukraine aid, it must be attached to immigration. We need to take separate issues and combine them. But
Fuck
also
off.
divide the issues. And I don't like it when we bundle everything. But never mind, bundle everything.
Yeah, guys, remember that. They were crying before about bundling stuff. We need to have them all separate. And then they they did try to bundle everything together. Ooh, we can't pass Ukraine aid unless we do immigration stuff. Oh, you gave us everything we want? Nah, we decline it now and all that. And now, all these months later, we finally did what we were trying to do back in September. Each thing was done separately, as it should have been done back in September.
Incoherent. But then we added a fentanyl sweetener. It was legislation added to the Ukraine aid that made it so that you'd get Ukraine aid and you'd get more funding for scanners on the southern border.
Trajan a tier 1 subscription.
Hey, Aries, thank you so much for giving Trajan a tier 1 sub and getting rid of one more white name. I don't think we have any more white names in site chat. I think you just got rid of the last one. Is the purge complete? Did we really successfully purge them? Congratulations. But we added a fentanyl sweetener. And that sounds like we gave them fentanyl. We didn't give the Republicans fentanyl in return for Ukraine aid. No. What it was is there was going to be scanners put on the southern border at border crossings.
Like Dylan says, you guys got everything. You still said no because you're idiots.
So even after everything sunk, the Democrats are still trying to add things to Ukraine aid to satisfy Republicans after they sank it and said, no deal. By the way, I agree with the fentanyl sweetener, by the way. And they still put it on the table, said screw it for 6 months, and now we're going to pass it, a separate bill with no sweetener as far as I'm aware. And it's a bill made by the Republican House Speaker after 6 months of delay, really no different than the previous Ukraine legislation, meaning we've delayed this for no reason, grandstanded on how it needed to be tied to immigration, and now we're passing it without it being tied to immigration, after Donald Trump said no reform on immigration. And that's the walkaway this GOP House member takes away. I don't know. Feels a little disingenuous to me. But this interaction right here, oh boy, this interaction from Congresswoman Luna, which, I mean, honestly, everything I see from Congresswoman Luna suggests to me that she might need to start being considered amongst, you know, the Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert knuckle dragging crowd.
Russia's made. Let's just say that.
Because to me, this interview shows clearly that the biggest opponents to Ukraine aid, as Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking about the sacrifice of children, organ harvesting to fund the war effort, as others are talking about the horrific oppression of Christians in Ukraine, while ignoring evangelicals literally being killed by the Russian army in occupied territory, whether it's the Russian Orthodox Army and the crimes over the years before the big invasion, or it was
Karen, I think we said this in the last time we covered this. Karen Greene actually says Russia is defending Christianity. As they're killing Christians in Ukraine. Which, funny enough, as Dylan Burns pointed out, they're surprisingly a lot of Southern Baptists in Ukraine. Which is very surprising. I thought that would only be an American thing. But, yeah, they're killing the Christian sect that Karen Greene is and likes. And nope. Putler's defending Christianity because I'm a Karen. I want Putler Goshiji-sama to take care of me sexually as I bend over and everything. That badly.
Take over Christian churches and building military bases on it. Or the killing of priests since the big war has started.
Tier 1 subscription. Dealing with stragglers.
Hey, we found a straggler. Thank you for a tier 1 sub to Soyanide, but I also see Sky Cinnamon. But you don't need to worry about it. Sky Synonym can just always, he can just always stay.
He can have his way with me as he beats the crap out of me because domestic violence is allowed.
Completely subless. But, I mean, you can do that, of course. I'm not going to judge you at all. Just a lot. Anyway, where were we? But I really think that we should start considering Luna, with these types of crazies.
There's too many Karen Lawrence in Congress. There's like 3 of them.
She's standing against it. She's going out
Lauren
there.
Boebert, I can't remember the R2. There's too many of them.
Ukraine made some bad choices. And
apparently Lauren is the second version of Karen now.
Just like most of the highest profile opponents of Ukraine aid don't really know anything about the country's history. She claims that it was Ukraine who chose not to join NATO. Listen to this.
It was. I think Dylan will get to this a little bit, but guys, until Russia invaded Ukraine the first time in 2014 with Crimea and the Donbass, Ukraine overwhelmingly was against joining NATO. It wasn't them trying to join NATO. It was the West offering them a chance of maybe in the future join NATO, but they had no interest in it. But after Russia invaded Ukraine, and especially now they overwhelmingly do. Just like with Sweden and Finland. So much for trying to stop the spread of NATO, you just made it even bigger. Good job.
Tell you is currently right now with the Ukraine, while we are sending money over there, there's no accountability. But I think even furthermore, remember, Ukraine chose to not join NATO. They also, in addition to that, had decisions that they made early on that would basically enable them to support what we're doing here in the United States as far as fighting that, and they chose not to. So again, it is not our fight to fight. We've given them a ton of aid. We've given them.
And another thing too is they can't join NATO if they want to because they're at war right now. They have territorial disputes. Two major things that are going to keep them from keeping them from joining. It's like Vicky 2 and EU4. Oh, you're at war? Nope, no interest in allying you. Sorry.
And so much aid that we could have funded a second Marine Corps. I think that if you go to what's happening right now with the inflation that we're seeing in this country,
oh my God, you
in
guys
addition
don't
to, let's take student loans, for
fixed.
example, and yet we're funding a foreign government, I simply don't agree with that.
We're fighting a foreign government? No. The only way we're going to be fighting Russia is if they do something stupid to drag us in. But no, we're not fighting them.
It was NATO and the United States and others who didn't want Ukraine to enter back when it was an issue initially.
I'm going to have to respectfully push back on that because I disagree. But continue. Sorry.
Okay, Karen.
I appreciate that very much.
Is she brain dead?
Yes.
How did she come up with this?
Yes.
Where did she
She's
get this from?
Because Republicans are all brain
What
dead.
type of bat
Yeah.
hole in the ground she's gonna drag this Vactoid out of?
They're too busy
I
thinking
don't
of
know
Putler goes to
any
G-Sama.
Of any, like, even like Russian propaganda.
Please throw that bottle of vodka at me as you
the
rape me.
Ukrainians were in a position where they could have joined NATO, and they simply chose not to. I honestly, like, the reporter pushes back, but if I was the reporter or I was the reporter's boss, I would want a lot more. I would want more. I would want to be like, okay, so when was that decision made? When did they decide not to join NATO? Who was the president? When did this happen? How did it happen? Can you tell me what year? Could you just tell me the basics about that decision-making process and why they came to that decision and how they came to that decision, or just any evidence that came to that decision? Just a year. Just tell me a year it happened. How about that? You know what? Not even a year. Tell me the decade. Tell me the decade it happened. When did they decide that? Why did they
Putler
decide
goes to
that?
G-Sama.
How did they decide that?
RS-385
violate me
has
without my
donated
consent.
$5. Didn't her
And
opponent
then
in her
hit me
primary try to hire a
of a
hitman to
vodka
kill
bottle,
her?
because
She's
you're
a
allowed to
window
do
licker
that.
for sure.
Yep,
Well,
I
I
remember
think at
that.
one point, yes, I remember the story. Man, but now we've learned that a hitman can do nothing to kill this woman. Because if she would have gotten shot in the head, it would have been just like, whew, there would be nothing to hit. She would have been fine. If anything, I'd say she's the perfect politician, assassination proof. But how do you come to this conclusion? I mean, this is like, I don't even like. This is like Poland chose to be invaded, or Poland encouraged. It's like such a basic. Like,
Remember
just-
Putler said
just
that
such a
Poland
basic
started World War
wrong.
II?
Just so wrong.
Yep,
from head
I
to
remember
toe.
that.
So I'll throw out
Fucking
the history
idiots.
out there. In 2008. Ukraine started to talk about seriously joining NATO. And Ukraine before that was already doing different types of NATO integration.
May I also add to Georgia? A few months
Yep.
before the Russo-Georgian War.
Part of the reason why you were
Remember
seeing
that-
Ukrainian
remember
troops
with
in
the,
Iraq and
doing-
18 died in Iraq.
Remember that once Russia's taken Ukraine and Moldova, Georgia's next.
And then probably Kazakhstan.
was
Yep,
because they wanted to
Kazakhstan,
buddy up
then
with the
probably
United States,
absorb
who was the predominant power on the world stage
along with the,
in the
as
Cold
many of the
War
other
period, in the post-Cold
former
War
Soviet
period.
stands as they can.
Ukraine was very interested in
kill
NATO
all of
membership.
them.
There were some presidents
Yep.
that were less interested, but they never
We're
broke
gonna
off
make a
relations
full ethno
because they
state
still
this
wanted
time.
to benefit from a good relationship with NATO, and a lot of them wanted to join NATO and pursued joining NATO. But whether the Ukrainian perspective and some leadership disagreed, some agreed with it, it was always the consistent position of NATO that okay, I mean, even if one day you join, you can't join now. That was the case in 2008 for not only integration reasons, because they were not on NATO standard ammunition, but also a bunch of other statecraft reasons. But most importantly, a fear of provoking the Russians. And when you join NATO, you need to not only just have the approval of the United States, you need to have the approval of every single NATO member state. Like for
Guys, remember how much shit Finland and Sweden had to go through recently with Hungary and Turkey to get in? Finland waited a whole year almost. Sweden had to wait 2 years.
For example, remember when Finland and Sweden wanted to join and they had to wait so long because Turkey and Hungary wanted to see how much they could strong arm out of them? Turkey on the issue
we expect
of
from
Kurds
Erdogan and Orban, two fascist
Hungary
fucks.
on the issue of gimme, right?
Two fascist terrorists.
This is because they had to please every single member. And the Germans were against NATO membership for the Ukrainians. The French were against it. Basically, I know the Hungarians were certainly against it. We don't have any indication to make us believe that the Turks were in favor of it. So even if you could have convinced the United States at the time, which was, I think, still against it under the Obama administration, who was trying to advance the big reset policy with the Russians, like reset of relations. They had the whole reset.
Because I think I've actually read into this. America actually was pro-Ukraine and Georgia join. It was just the rest of NATO that wasn't. No surprise from Bush.
Everything that Hillary and Sergei Lavrov pushed. There's no point here where the Ukrainians are like, never mind, we had an opportunity to join NATO. No, there was never an opportunity for Ukraine to join NATO. They did not choose not to join NATO. They were never allowed to join NATO in the first place. So there wasn't a choice about them even joining NATO.
Likewise, right now, they
can't,
but for different reasons.
And when they did pursue it, they were told, maybe later.
And I think once the war ends, I think Ukraine will join NATO, no matter what Russia says.
Yep, they absolutely
so this,
will.
To me,
that's
shows
a guarantee.
She doesn't know the basics.
They can even make that in part of the deal.
If
You
I
can't
was to
join
ask
NATO.
her, like,
Ukraine
what
will
would
sign it
happen
and
in
just dismiss it
If I was
instantly
to ask her
afterwards.
what happened on Maidan Square with the snipers, if I was to ask her who's Yanukovych, or let's go back, who's Yukashenko? Ooh, let's go further back. Wait. How about the Orange Revolution? How about when they annexed Crimea? What happened? How did it happen? Like, what information does she have about this war?
That's when Ukraine started to want to join NATO. After
when you
that,
listen to her talk, it sounds as if she's like taking the files out of her mind, looking for the words, trying to remember the talking points. It doesn't even sound like she really knows what she's saying. And then she says she respectfully disagrees about a basic fact. It's like she disagrees that NATO didn't want them in. That's the thing that really gets me, is the reporter didn't even say you're wrong about Ukraine choosing not to join, which he could have said. He instead said, what about, the United States and NATO didn't want them to join. And she said no, indicating that she thinks that all of NATO, all the NATO states, Hungary, Turkey, France, Germany, they all came together and agreed, and America agreed, and Ukraine was just like, no, I don't want to join. I don't like the color blue. Like, what? Listen how she frames it. Let's do it one more time, okay? I'm just particularly perplexed at this woman and the fact that she was able to get elected.
It's America. You
Marine
shouldn't be
Corps.
surprised.
I think that if you go to what's happening right now with the inflation that we're seeing in this country,
Lauren
in addition
Boebert,
to, let's take
Karen
student
Green.
loans, for example, and yet we're funding a foreign government, I simply don't agree with that.
Look, it was NATO and the United States and others who didn't want Ukraine to enter back when it was an issue initially.
I'm going to have to respectfully push back on that because I disagree.
Once again, Karen. We know. Go
America
over.
declared independence
Get
in
on your
1776.
in your maid outfit.
I
and get
respectfully
raped by
disagree.
Putler, go to G
World War
and
II
get
ended
hit
in
with a bomb and all that.
1945.
We know you want that.
I respectfully disagree. Well, the Korean War ended in 19... No. I respectfully disagree.
RS385 gave Sky Kinnaman a Tier 1 subscription.
Thank you for the Tier 1 sub.
my God.
If you got an R next to your name, vote up. That seems to be the process now. Thank you for giving a Tier 1 sub to Sky Cinnamon. I appreciate that. Also, putting aside the fact that she knows nothing about Ukraine, I don't know, maybe she just needs to go sit down and watch the Timothy Snyder Yale lectures. We're gonna be watching that confrontation between Timothy Snyder and Marjorie Taylor Greene next.
Oh no!
started hearing
Did
that
you see
one.
that? Oh my God! Did you see that?
I've seen part of it.
I saw Dylan Burns' like 4-hour stream on it. Oh my God! Karen Green went like Super Saiyan Karen on that guy for no reason. Oh my God!
Spending money and we have student debt, so why should we be funding a foreign government? We
You
spend 1% of our budget.
Karen
on foreign
Green,
aid.
you don't care about
1%.
student debt. You want students to die.
The reason
for
we
crying out loud.
have massive debt, or the reason we have a deficit, or the reason we have these economic issues are not because we support our allies with foreign aid. Certainly when much of that foreign aid is also hand-me-down equipment and also going to be used to replace the hand-me-down equipment that with newer equipment made by American defense companies in the United States.
Making
So what he's
money
saying,
and
all
making
this money's
people
going to a
stronger,
foreign
military
government. Well, most of
industrial
it's being
complex.
spent in the United States. It's not going to a foreign government. And the money that is going to the foreign government isn't even going to them to be theirs forever. It's a loan now. So you're against the idea of a loan when you're talking about the actual money that's going there? So we're not giving them the money. We're saying, here's the money for now. You're going to give it to us back later. Knowing that later they're going to be economically distraught after the fact. But still, Trump wanted to make sure it was a loan so he could make sure he was pinching every penny with the country having its people dumped in mass graves. But I just want to throw out there, I could sit here and argue, hey, this is why, I think it's less expensive for us to send aid to Ukraine than have to deploy more troops in Europe depending on Russian victory in Ukraine and coming closer to NATO, or I'd rather send them munitions than have to send our boys over there. But putting all that aside, she supports aid to Israel. You cannot go on TV and say, oh no, we can't spend money on foreign country. They're a foreign country.
Hypocrite!
We got issue at home. All of money should be spent at home. Let's ignore the rest of the world. Let's ignore our allies. Let's ignore the largest war in Europe since World War II, which will be a definitive war for the rest of the 21st century. Let's ignore it. That's cost too much. Oh, Israel, a country we've been giving lots of aid to for the last multiple decades, now wants more aid money?
To do genocide against Palestinians?
Okay. Oh, and
all of a sudden now you support it.
You have a political solution, so this could be in perpetuity. Okay, whatever.
Maybe you support
20 billion.
ethno-states.
Oh, they have a nuclear arsenal. They have an own standing army.
That want to
They
genocide
wouldn't need
people.
American aid to necessarily sustain.
Makes sense you would support Israel and Russia then.
Here you go. Hypocrite.
Fucking Karen cunt. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
absolutely.
Really does rival Karen Green. That's something. When you rival Karen Green in terms
Yeah.
of insufferability. Oh my gosh. So yeah, what do you guys say about them being mauled and mad that they can't watch Ukrainians just die at Simply anymore? $61 billion worth of weapons coming. Does it make them very mad or what? What's that? They just Ukraine just used attackums to just kill like 100 Russians training recently out of nowhere with no effort. Oh, I guess that's gonna make them very mad too, which actually did happen recently too, if you didn't know. So yeah. All right, so oh yeah, now back to more Karen crap. Now on to the next thing.
Yep.
Should Democrats save Mike Johnson? And by the way, just recently,
They
like
did.
the other day, Kyle covered it. They actually are. I mean, Democrats are gonna save him. So what am I
Yep.
talking about is when Johnson allowed like the Ukraine aid and all that went through. Karen Green had a complete meltdown as always, and she
Of course.
and other Republicans were gonna try and oust Johnson just like they did McCarthy recently. Now, of course, they don't have the numbers to do that. They're gonna need Democrats to do something too, like they did with McCarthy when all the Democrats voted to kick him out along with a few Republicans. But, so the question is, would Democrats potentially save Johnson? And I was saying, because I remember saying this about McCarthy, I think Democrats should potentially consider maybe think about doing that. And then we can make him our bitch, basically, because we're going to be the ones that saves him and such. Or, as Kyle pointed out, Kyle thinks they should not save Johnson at all and just let him go, and then Republicans take the hit and all that. Which, fair point. That also would work too, just like they did when they did with McCarthy. But I think it's also a valid way we can maybe save Johnson and force him to do our bid because, guys, Johnson is a horrible piece of shit just like the rest of Republicans. But he is not completely 100% stupid. like the rest of them. He's only 99% stupid. He knows that, just like McCarthy too, he doesn't have the numbers to do what the rest of the Republicans want. Like, they don't, like Karen Green, all of them, they want, like, everything. They don't care about the fact that they don't have the numbers to do it. Democrats have the Senate. Biden would veto it. Like, they're not going to get what they want. Johnson knows that. He's going to be the person he'll take whatever he can get and be done with it. They're not going to accept that, and that's why they're trying to threaten to kick him out and all that. So, of course, that was 2 weeks ago. Nothing's happened yet that I know of, but Kyle Cover revealed recently that Democrats would save Johnson if it happens. So, we'll see about that. And now, let's see Kyle's video on, because he was, like, what do you think Democrats should do if you were in their shoes? I mean, Kyle did make a pretty good argument, too, against it. Like, I think you can go either way with it.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Because it's going to come down to us, because we have all the power. But, yeah, let's see Kyle's video on it.
All right, guys, so this story came out the other day, and I have many, many thoughts on it. The Hill is reporting that Democratic leaders have come out and said they will protect Speaker Johnson from any Republican coup attempt. Any Republican civil war where Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey
and Democrats vote against this,
Paul
he's gonna
last.
try
to oust Speaker Mike Johnson, the Democrats are like,
it's all Democrats. Republicans have no control over it. Karen Green, all of them, doesn't matter. Because the rest of the Republicans are absolutely 100% will not vote against Johnson. They will not. Just like most of them did not vote against McCarthy because he's their guy. They will absolutely 100% no matter what. Democrats are the one that could swing that. And right now, it looks like they are going to protect him. So Karen Green's attempt is going to fail if they do that.
Mike Johnson. Okay. Let me see if I can give you some more specifics before we get into my take on it. House Democratic leaders announced Tuesday they will protect Speaker Mike Johnson from a potential conservative coup, all but ensuring the Speaker will keep the gavel through the remainder of the term. The proclamation from Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic Whip Catherine Clark, and Caucus Chair Pete Aguilar is a remarkable development in the turbulent Speaker saga that's hobbled the GOP's governing majority from the earliest days of the 118th Congress. An unprecedented promise by the minority party to prop up an opposing leader for the sake of stabilizing chamber business.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of like a coalition government, which is something you never see in America. Somewhat. It's very interesting to see how this could potentially happen.
Their announcement serves as a response to Marjorie Taylor Greene's threat to oust Johnson over a series of deals he cut with President Biden. Most recently on federal spending, government survey.
Guys, the only reason she's against this is because she wants Ukrainians to die. That's what it all boils down to. Because she's a Russian that wants to get raped and beaten by Putler Goshiji-sama.
Balance and aid to Ukraine.
Also remember, remember though, also that
other Karen cunt.
Seditious Karen Green.
That other one we just watched too.
She's so unhappy with the other speakers. Why doesn't she go for speaker herself?
Funny thing, I think Mike actually said, or Kyle, someone said that. Why don't you run for speaker then if you hate McCarthy and John so bad? Yeah, maybe you should. Honestly though, if she was nominated, I think like the majority of Republicans would actually vote against her. Like, I think they really don't like her. To the point where they would
endorsed by Massey and Gosar, but that's it.
I honestly wonder if they hate her enough that they might even say, let's go with Hakeem Jeffries. Oh my goodness. Oh my God, can you imagine?
And a number of rank-and-file Democrats have been vowing for months that they would shield the Speaker from an internal revolt if he ushered those bills through the chamber. Okay, this is a horrible move from the Democrats. And here's why. We already had rumblings that if they tried to do a coup of Johnson, if Republicans did that, that you'd have more Republican congresspeople resign.
And guys, remember, one or two Republicans, that's it. Just one or two go. Democrats have the lead, just like that. They lost that 8-point lead they had from like less than a year ago. It just keeps going down, down, down. And here's the thing, guys. Republicans and Karen Green, even though they did win in the end and got what they wanted, the Republicans took a really, really gigantic hit for that. Ousting your own speaker, and then you took, how many people did they go through before they went with Johnson? How many votes they went through? It was like 2 weeks, remember? And we were laughing for crazy like that episode during that week it happened. We were all making fun of him and all that.
That was hilarious. That was hysterical.
Like they took a really, really, really bad hit. They don't want to take another hit like this again. But that's the only thing that's going to stop them. I mean, get what they want. All it has to be is just Democrats vote against Johnson, and Karen Green, a couple of them, will be enough to swing it, and Johnson will be gone. And they had to go through the process all over again. And I think the majority of Republicans absolutely, like I said earlier, do not want to go for that again. They didn't want to go for it the first time. They definitely don't want to go for that again, because they know it's going to be nothing but bad for them. Which is why Kyle's argument is valid, although I still think save him could be to potential benefit too.
And if more Republican Congress people resigned in that moment, well, then Democrats have the majority.
Yep, just one or two. That's all it needs.
Right now, it's only a 1-seat margin that Republicans have over Democrats. So if they were to try to do that coup, there would be more moderate Republicans who are like, I can't do this shit anymore. I'm out. And then you'd have a Democrat become Speaker of the House. So basically what they're doing, Democrats here, is they're shooting themselves in the foot. Now, look, my guess is they don't know what I just said, right? Or they heard it, but it's actually a rumor and it's not true that would happen. And so that's why they're like, we'll protect him. And look, is there a scenario where this actually is smart politics? Yes. But it's only smart politics in an instance where you're saying, hey, we're going to save Mike Johnson, but now Mike Johnson is going to...
Yeah, yep. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that supposed to be independent? Yeah, it looks like... Wikipedia says Republicans have a 5-seat lead, but those 5 seats on the map are blank, like they're vacant or independent or something. So I'm not sure.
Start acting like Bernie Sanders, right? Mike Johnson is going to start voting completely with us on everything. Like in that scenario, it would make sense to save him because it's like if we're coming in and saving your ass, well, tit for tat. I scratch your back, you scratch mine.
Yeah, like hell? I'm saying. I really think they should consider if we're going to save your ass, you're going to start like working with us and doing what we want. Which Johnson, I think, would be more willing because he's not 100% stupid like the rest of them. He knows he doesn't have the power. He knows he's pretty much going to be a Democrat's bitch if they save him. Like we all know it. Everyone knows it. He's cucked.
Hell do we get out of it?
And you know what too? We can friend him. If you go against us, then guess what? If this comes up again, we won't help you, and you'll be out and back to square one like with McCarthy. Like, Democrats, if you're going to say him, you need to make it abundantly clear. He is your bitch. That's
where I would expect somebody to come in with a list of 25 things and be like, if you deliver on all these, then we will protect you. Right? But the fact of the matter is, I don't think that happened. Now, I don't know. I'm not privy to what's going on behind the scenes there, but I highly doubt that they did get a lot in a deal here. And the thing is,
I think they would just be having with pretty much the Ukraine aid and all that. They would probably just satisfy what they had.
The stuff he delivered is all the establishment shit that we all hate. More money for Israel, more money for Taiwan, more money for Ukraine.
Wait, Kyle, are you saying that that's bad to give Taiwan and Ukraine aid? Because fuck you if you say that. Israel, yes, but
remember that he's
I know.
He wants America to cut off everything. To just break away from the rest of the world completely and utterly, like never interact with anyone left.
Through the an extension of the warrantless spying, like this is. I don't agree with those things, right? I hate those things, and you should too.
Well, the TikTok ban, yes, I hate that. We're trying to ban it. The spying stuff, yes, I hate that. Aid to Israel, yes, I hate that. But I absolutely 100% do not hate aid to Taiwan, Ukraine. Fuck you, Kyle, for trying to say I should be hating that. Fuck no. I fervently support that 100%, and you can cope if you don't like hearing that.
Yeah.
And there's some hardline in the MAGA faction who are against like either the spying in some instances, and in some instances the Ukraine money. They're almost all for the Israel.
Yeah, only right? Spying against white people.
And it's like,
and then
tell you, but on those particular issues,
and then,
the corporate Democrats are wrong, and the corporate Republicans are wrong. So it would be the MAGA faction that got, a tiny little thing right. So, look, if they are going to self-destruct, don't get in their way. Why would you save them? And also, by the way,
Although, to be fair, Kyle, I think if Karen Green still tried this and the Democrats saved Johnson, I think it might actually still look bad on her part either way.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only way she's not going to lose on this front is she just doesn't try to get rid of him. Because if he's gone, they're going to have to do the whole process all over again, and she's going to look bad for it. If she tries it and fails, she might look bad either way.
Shows is if they self-destruct again, if they try to do a coup again.
And to be fair,
think that doesn't send
Republicans will find another way to self-destruct. Oh, let's
clear message
ban
to voters.
abortion. Let's
That's
ban abortion in this
what
other
he,
state.
Bag, bro.
That's
They
what
can't
he
get shit done.
That's what?
I can't remember.
They don't agree on anything, even though they
I
actually agree on
can't
everything.
remember what I was going
But
to
they
say.
bicker, they fight, they bitch, they moan. They are constantly, everybody's slitting each other's throat around them on the right. They can't govern. So if you let them implode, it's nothing but positive for the Democrats.
I mean it.
But they'd rather rush in and save them. I don't think, look, there's a...
Honestly, Kyle, I don't think there's anything negative at the moment for Democrats, no matter what they do. I mean, yeah, get rid of Johnson, make the Republicans look bad. That's good. Save Johnson, potentially make him his bitch. I don't really see how it could be bad for Democrats at the moment. Really don't.
Chance the public views this as like, look at the responsible Democrats coming in and saving the day. But number one, that might not happen. Number two, it's bad politics in terms of it's not going to help you get our agenda through to the extent they actually care about our agenda, which they don't, right? So let them self-destruct. Don't get in the way of the Civil War. Don't get in the way of the internal Republican coup. Let them self-destruct. And by the way, I think it is very likely that in this scenario, if they were to really go after Johnson again, that more moderate Republicans would resign, and then you'd have a Democrat be Speaker of the House. So they're
that is a valid
preventing
point.
their own ability from taking over the House by doing this. It's perfect. It's the perfect embodiment of democratic politics, right? It really is. It's like they care more about the civility and the decorum and the procedure.
Of course, that's what corporate Democrats
and the
do, as
status
we all
quo.
know.
They care more about those things than they do about
Of course,
beating the
because they're
Republicans
also stupid.
or getting through our agenda or taking control of the House. You know, it's so insane. It's so insane. There's also another possibility, by the way, which is that the only reason that you have some Democrats who are like, we're going to save Mike Johnson, is simply because they kind of agree with him, right? That these are Democrats.
I mean, yeah, it's true as well.
Districts. They're very right-wing
That's true as
Democrats.
well, yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it'll look good for me in my next election if I actually support the Republican, so I'm just going to go ahead and support the Republican. That's very possible, too. But either way, man, this is, again, the Democrats not knowing how to play politics. The last time they actually did play it right, when they let them self-destruct, they let them implode, the whole Kevin McCarthy fiasco.
I'm not really sure on that, Kyle. I think they should have really thought about that before they did that.
And in this
but hey,
instance,
in the end,
Democrats
Republicans
were
look
like, I know
bad,
you're trying to
so
look
W
horrible,
for
we're gonna
us.
try to save you.
Yeah.
Bad idea. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and
So yeah, we gotta see about that. And of course, should Democrats save Johnson, which they said they are going to do it, but we'll see if a vote or whatever comes up. But what do you think? Should they or should they not? It's a very interesting question. I can go either way.
Same.
Yeah, Kyle?
I'm leaning save him like this time.
Yeah, and use leverage if you don't do what we want. If it comes up again, we'll make sure you're gone and get what we want again. And probably more in the line of save him too. But Kyle does definitely make a good argument on the other side too as well.
Yeah.
But hey,
And I can acknowledge.
But hey, at least we don't have to worry about it. In the end, we can laugh when they let him go. It'll be very interesting to see. So we'll see. Maybe if this vote happens up soon, maybe we'll cover it. But we have to wait and see what happens. All right. So now, on to the next topic.
The police shootout in Charlottesville.
Well, Charlotte, North Carolina. Have you heard about this? This happened this Monday.
No. No, I haven't.
There was a massive police shootout in Charlotte that led to 4 cops dying.
Oh.
This was the deadliest day for cops in America since that BLM shooting back in 2016, if you remember that.
Since that black nationalist terror attack.
So yeah, what happened was, because I'm watching ABC's video, which was the the night of the shooting, so it probably doesn't have like all the full details. But what happened was, bunch of cops in Charlotte were heading to this guy's house to do a warrant on him, to arrest him for like illegal gun possession or whatever. And when they were still arriving at the place, he saw him, and he was in the second floor of his house, and he ambushed them, and they got into a massive gunfight, and the gunfight went on for 4 hours.
Whoa!
In a Charlotte suburb with hundreds of cops all over the place, for crying out loud. Like, I'm surprised. I'm honestly surprised you didn't hear about it. It was wild.
Oh, now I remember. Yes, now I know.
Yeah, we're about to cover it again.
Yeah, now I've heard it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, now I remember.
Absolutely insane and all that. And of course, been playing the videos in the background too while I was working on stuff, because man, it's just insane what happened. So yeah, let's watch this.
We turn now to the new and terrifying images tonight after 4 officers, one of them a U.S. Marshal, were shot and killed. The deadliest day for American law enforcement in years. Officers serving a warrant at a home in Charlotte,
Only American
North Carolina.
people, remember that.
This new video tonight shows that neighborhood, what many say looked like a war zone. Officers taking shelter behind a vehicle, exchanging gunfire with a heavily armed suspect next door.
Guys, I'm not kidding when I say this. When I saw like certain like videos and pictures and stuff, it really reminded me like on the front of the Russo-Ukraine war. Like I'm not kidding when I'm saying it. That's how much like look like a war if you see the videos. I even posted the video in the thing, you know, if you want to check that later if you didn't see this one.
Other officers approaching through neighboring yards. An armored vehicle driving on lawns, taking one of the wounded officers to try to get them help. Tonight, here the faces of the fallen officers. Officers Sam Pelosi and William Alden Elliott, 14-year veterans of the Department of Adult
Yeah, now they're
Corrections.
doing. They've been doing their funeral processions the last few days.
4 children. Joshua Iyer, an Army veteran and father of a 3-year-old, just last week honored as Officer of the Month.
And of course, we're going to be getting into it like in the next part about like what the left gets wrong, but I don't know if these were like actual like leftists, but I've seen like a whole bunch of people like defending these cops getting killed and all that, which was really silly.
Faith Abume is in Charlotte for
this is not at all like George Floyd, for example. Not like these cops aren't like actively trying to kill someone who's like was innocent and all that. They were doing their job, issuing a warrant, and they were ambushed.
Tonight, the dramatic new video showing the suburban Charlotte neighborhood turned into a war zone.
4 hours. Gee, imagine if you're in a suburb and you had a massive police shot for 4 hours.
Tense standoff with a convicted felon that left 4 officers, including a U.S. Marshal, dead and 4 others wounded. The officers seen taking cover behind vehicles as they exchanged a barrage of gunfire with the heavily armed suspect. Officials say around 1:30 Monday afternoon, members of a
It got so bad that they actually took one of their like SWAT vehicles and actually ran into the shooter's house twice.
Wow.
Like it was like straight. Like I told you, doesn't that sound like Russo-Ukraine war stuff?
Yeah.
U.S. Marshal Fugitive Task Force went to arrest Terry Clark Hughes Jr. for felony possession of a firearm. Police say the suspect saw them coming and targeted them as they approached his house.
He was shooting from upstairs down at the officers, both front and back. Gunshots were coming from multiple locations within the house.
The suspect armed with an assault-style rifle, a handgun, and extra ammunition.
Tyler, get in here! Get in the bathroom, Tyler!
Sang Chun lives next door and was just feet away.
And the bullets were flying. Flying right here.
The violent shootout lasting 4 hours. The suspect shot dead on his front lawn. At an emotional press.
That honestly is like really curious. Did he just like walk out into the front lawn to be like a target? That would be like really stupid. Like that's like really curious how that happened, because the guy was in the top floor of the house, and then all of a sudden out in the front lawn.
Conference today, officials clearly grieving, remembering the officers' heroic acts in the line of duty.
It's just been very tough. And knowing that you have families that are hurting right now.
Oh yeah, and then there was also cunts that were blaming Biden for this somehow.
Oh, of course. Blame Biden for everything.
We'll get through it though.
Investigators now identifying all 4 law enforcement officers who died in the violent attack. Officers Sam Pelosi and William Alden Elliott, 14-year veterans of the Department of Adult Correction. Thomas Weeks, a U.S. Marshal who leaves behind a wife and 4 children, and Joshua Iyer, an Army veteran and father of a 3-year-old who just last week...
Yeah, fuck all of you that say that this was deserved or whatever.
And David, tonight only one of the 4 injured
I
officers
remember there's a lot of there are a fair portion of the left that's like, oh yes, which one was it? Mike Figueredo done tried to justify this murder.
I wouldn't be surprised, since he doesn't believe cops he said on video before when we covered it last year.
Yep.
And of course, sovereign citizens too on the right, because they've actually killed cops before. Remember that big one in 2014 at that mall where 2 cops were killed by one?
Hospital.
Yes,
the
I remember
police
that
chief tells
one.
us he is stable. David.
We're thinking about all of those families tonight. Faith Abube, Faith, thank you.
So, yeah, that's all the video was, because it's a very short one. There's so many videos on it, but that was like the best one to cover all of it. So, what do you guys say about that?
God, what the fuck, dude? That's nasty.
Like, again, that's America for you. Very unfortunate it happened to those cops and all that, but man, like I said, only in America something like that would happen. Just very unfortunate. Hopefully, doesn't happen again, but my goodness, that really did look like the Russo-Ukraine war. Pretty bad. That's in America that had to look like that for that moment. Man, look up other videos, because the house was like completely destroyed because they had to ram their SWAT van into there to get in. My goodness. In fact, let me go copy that link on one of the videos. I think might cover a little bit in that one as well and such. Because, man, you should look it up because it was insane and such. All right. So now, I think we're on to our final topic.
What does the left get things wrong on?
Yeah, I think we've done something like this before, and I'm going to repost this so we can get back to the topic really quickly. Of course, us on the show, we go after everyone, and that includes the fellow progressives too, because a lot of times there are a lot of progressives and bad faith people on the left that are just stupid and need to be gone after. Like, we've even gone after like probably every single progressive we've even watched on this show, for crying out loud. Because even they had like dumb moments at one point.
Yeah.
So, want to talk about stuff that I feel the left doesn't do a good job on and actively hurts themselves in their chances to like win and do the policies they want. And we listed all the things that I could think off the top of my head that the left gets wrong on somewhat that hurts them. That is guns, police reform, anti-white male cis hetero BS, wokeism, foreign policy sometimes, too pro-minorities to extreme sometimes, women having a problem with women wanting to be track cons, having a problem sometimes with porn, sex, drugs, like mocking people who don't want to use them, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, it's some really stupid things I've noticed that we need that the left needs to stop doing. So let's go on this. So first off, we'll start off with guns, but there is an asterisk on this one with like a couple things, because this is not like a progressive problem. This is more of a suburban liberal problem. Like the place in America that would have the least likely to have guns.
Yeah.
And that is, of course, like one of the things as we know, the left, like one of the very common right-wing talking points that unfortunately has a lot of sway when it really shouldn't, is that liberals and Democrats want to ban all guns and all that. They don't. The vast majority
because a lot of lefties are actually armed.
Yeah, the vast majority of there's more guns in America than people.
Oh it's like by a pretty decent ratio.
Yeah, there's more guns in America than there are people. So you know what that means, guys? That means mathematically, by default, the vast majority of liberals are gun owners too.
Yep.
And I'm not even talking about like actual progressives and leftists. Actual leftists are pro-gun rights to prevent to potentially be armed for a revolution or self-defense and stuff like that against fascist governments and such. So the leftists, like the actual far left, are pro-gun rights and stuff like that. Being pro-armed thief. The only people on the left that don't like guns are like people like me more like, or people in the suburbs where guns are not common and stuff like that. Now, unfortunately, those people sometimes do advocate banning guns and such like that. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen, and you're actively hurting our chances to win.
Us.
Yeah. It's like it's like one of those talking points on the right that unfortunately has sway when it really shouldn't, because the vast majority of people in America want gun regulation and gun control somewhat. But these freaks keep getting away with their stupid crap and such. So, suburban people on the left, you need to be a little bit more nuanced on the gun issue. Like me. Like I've talked about before. Now, I'm sure a lot of people on the right would think I'm too far left on this, but I think I'm more reasonable. First off, some guns need to be banned. Full stop. Like assault weapons. And my definition of assault weapon is like something that the military would use.
Yes.
Like, we all agree that, like, people should not have, like, tanks, rocket launchers, nukes, and all that. We all agree that those weapons are too dangerous for people to have. I think military-grade weapons also fit in that category. I don't think people should be have them no matter what. Two, you have, if you want to get a gun, you need to have background checks, of course. You need to pass gun training, which is something no one talks about. Like, with cars, like, when you want to get a car and get a driver's license, you have to show that you are able to drive a car before you can get a license. You should have to pass something similar like that when it comes to owning firearms. Which a lot of countries do actually have those requirements. You have to pass gun training. A lot of countries, even like the most like anti-gun states in America don't usually have that. I don't think Maryland has that, which is something we should have. But like that's smart. Like, who would be against like gun training? Don't you want people who are that own guns be good at using them? I would think even pro-gun people would be for that, but apparently a lot of them are not, to my surprise. We do need to address mental health and all that. Although the right, we have to also recognize the right use that as a crutch to not go after guns, and then when it comes up with like mental health bills, they always vote against it. That also needs to be pointed out too. But the real thing is, the real problem with guns is that America's gun culture. That's the problem. Because there are many countries in the world that have a lot of guns. Like Switzerland, for example, and stuff. They don't have this problem. Lots of other developed countries have guns everywhere. They don't have this mass shooting epidemic. It's just an American thing. Because our gun culture is toxic. In America, guns are treated like toys that everyone should have no matter what. Other countries, they're viewed as dangerous devices that need to be regulated and promote strong gun safety. That's what we need. And that's something that suburban liberals don't do a good job on, to a major detriment. So we gotta see about that.
Pretty much similar. Pretty much agree on that.
And then the next thing, police reform. Now this is towards actual leftists, or more like dumb leftists, I would call it. This is more towards like people that advocate like that fervently, like this is like to Harry, remember, like people that fervently absolutely defend using defund the police, and to Harry's case too, a whole bunch of people just straight up outright want to abolish police.
And also remember, a lot of the left do apologia for when black nationalists kill cops.
We're gonna be getting that probably in the next one too, and such, and a couple more coming up. Like, here's the thing. First off, like the defund the police. I agree with defund the police because they are way too funded and they should not have a lot of the stuff that they have. But the problem is that the slogan is politically toxic.
Exactly, yes.
It's so toxic that you would lose elections because of it. Now, someone who supports defund the police, I recognize that. So you know what I do instead? I say, let's do police reform instead. Because guess what? It polls better to the vast majority of Americans. The vast majority of Americans, even Republicans, believe it or not, guys, support police reform. Whereas, I think I even covered it. We talked about this before, like when Harry had his meltdown about this and such. Like, I think it was like defund the police ranged from like 8 to 20% approval in America. Just police reform, like the slogan police reform, before you even get to the policies, it was like 80 to 90% approval. That is an undeniable swing that can like change elections potentially, guys. That's something, when you see that, you should go instantly, oh yeah, let's drop the slogan and go with police reform, even though it does the exact same thing pretty much. You gotta realize, you have to play like the word game. Like, people are not going to support something, even if they agree with the same things, just because the slogan to them is toxic. And then another problem is, a lot of people just straight up want to abolish cops. Now, and what they want to do usually is to steel man them. They would want like communal policing, where it's supported by, where instead of police, a community is governed, protected by like the community, basically. Like, everyone looks out for each other and stuff like that. I don't think that would work as well as a lot of people on the left would think it would. I think it would probably be honestly no difference. If anything, it could potentially be worse because police, in theory, are held to standards that they have to face, or they face consequences, like what happened with George Floyd and all that. Now, of course, a lot of times it doesn't happen. They get away with actual crimes they get. But in theory, there is regulation that it's supposed to stop them. What's to stop communal policing in our communities if someone in the community does something wrong and they feel, no, we don't think so, and we're not going to, charge or anything? No one has been able to counter that argument yet. No one. It's something you gotta think about and all that. So what do you gotta say about that?
I find, yeah, I pretty much agree. It's one of those things where you gotta talk about
nuance and such.
You gotta do nuance.
And here's another thing too. How well do you think can you imagine communal policing with the Charlotte thing that we just covered? There's a good potential that maybe some in the community would probably defend the guy instead. And a lot of people, because I saw a whole bunch of videos of this. Like I said, guys, I've been watching a lot of these videos over the last few days. A lot of people didn't even know this guy was had warrants and all that, and had illegal guns and all that. So a lot of people wouldn't know or possibly defend him. In this instance, cops are just needed. And also, another thing too, because we didn't bring up too, police reform is a lot of people, a lot of them on the left really do, as we covered as we saw with Mike before. A lot of the left really do just hate cops to a bigoted extreme, pretty much. And that's just not the reality, guys. Cops are needed, and most cops are good. Go watch police activity, which I do all the time too. Yeah. All they do is show body cam footage and stuff of cops doing stuff, and guess what? The vast majority of the time, if they shoot someone or whatever, it's because they did something that warrants it. I know a lot of the left are not going to like that, but that's happened. Now they do. Now there are times, because they're not like Blue Shield or Blue Lives Matter people. They show videos of cops doing stuff wrong. They show the whole footage of the George Floyd incident on their channel. It's one of their most viewed videos too. So they're not biased or anything like that. They just show the evidence, and you decide what happens afterwards. For cloud. Oh my God, that reminds me too. Recently, they did a video a week ago. There was a sting operation in Seattle where they tried to get a child predator, and when the guy got to the hotel and the cops came out, you know what he did?
What?
He almost instantly pulled his gun out on the cops.
Oh.
And I'm sure you already know what happened.
Yep, bang, bang, bang.
30 rounds.
Whoa!
That's how much he got turned to Swiss cheese. Now, are you going to defend someone who pulls a gun out of cops just like that when they come out of a hotel room? Especially when you found they're a child. They were going here to this hotel with the idea of molesting kids.
Yes.
You gotta think about this stuff. Not all cops are evil and all that. Same goes we haven't bring up
the institution.
That's
the problem.
The institution is the problem. You can have good cops. Other countries don't have the same problems as America does. So it's not cops that are the problem. It's the culture and stuff, which we can fix it with police reforms. It's not that difficult and such like that. So, yeah, we got into that. Then the next thing is, I've seen this too, and you've seen it too. There are a lot on the left that really do just don't like whites, men, cis, and hetero people. They don't like the people that they view in power or anything. And Vosh is the one thing I'll give Vosh credit on, because I don't like him. He at least acknowledges this and goes after these people quite regularly. That's the one thing I'll say 100% he's good on. Oh my God. So many times people on the left dismiss people because they're white, a man, cis, hetero, and all that. And to the point where they don't talk about men's issues and stuff like that, which is a very common thing.
Remember when Thought Slime did his 45-minute video response to Shu mentioning him? Oh my God, that was cringe.
Yep, and all that. Guys, now the reason why a lot of times they're against men's rights stuff is because a lot of men's rights are also misogynistic POSs too and stuff like that. But not all men's rights activists are like that. And more importantly, that doesn't change the fact that men's issues are real and they need to be talked about. You can even talk about it through a feminist lens and such too. But a lot of the
I remember a couple of the rights men got things when it comes to child custody.
Yeah.
Has been fixed up thanks to feminists.
Mm-hmm. Which a lot of men rights don't like to acknowledge either.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah.
Definitely don't.
Yep, there are things that men, whites, cis people, hetero people deal with just as much as minorities, but they're almost never talked about. Privilege, don't you remember? Hey, that reminds us of that video we did about privilege and such.
Yes.
Show that a lot of ways, even though we're all free of those things, white, cis, hetero men.
And remember, the big thing there, though, would probably be a bit more class related. That's another big thing. A lot of people don't, when they're doing intersectionality, they don't acknowledge class.
Yeah. And when we try to talk about class all the time, we're called race reductionists. Remember that bullshit from years ago?
Yep. Bush does that.
Mm-hmm. And a whole bunch of other people. Oh my God. They would never talk about class. If you don't talk about race every single second, you're just a class reductionist racist. Oh my God. 2020 all over again. Oh God. It was, the times I kept being called a Nazi for that crap. Oh, it was so annoying. Oh my God. Very annoying.
They're probably closer to Nazis than yeah, because they're not making everything about race.
Yep. But like when we did the privilege video, like there were things that you and me had privilege in, but then there were things that we weren't privileged in a lot of ways. Hell, like with your height, remember, it was both a privilege and a negative for you at the same time.
Yep, double-edged sword because because I've got a duck in a fair few places.
But at the same time, you're tall so you can reach places that I and others probably wouldn't be able to reach. And such. So yeah, there's things that everyone, even cis hetero white men, have privileges but negatives in. But let's talk about these issues instead of like just dismissing people because they're that group and whatever. And such. Like, and of course, this kind of gets in the same thing. Wokeness. There are a lot of people. This is probably more like liberals than necessarily leftists, but there are definitely an SJW sect. There are a lot of people that are woke. And Mike, I've said this before, I think you are pretty woke and stuff like that. I think he even said unironically that he is woke. Now, of course, the right thinks everything like being on the left is woke.
They've removed, like, to be fair, the right has made the term woke almost meaningless.
Yeah, like we're not using woke in that regard. Like being for like gay rights and, for example, that's not woke. That's base and all that. I'm talking about like people using it pull to get out of arguments and all that and such like that. There are actual woke people on the left and they need to go and such. Like you look like clowns and all that and such. And then next, foreign policy. And this is sometimes. It depends on the issue too. Like as
Ukraine being a pretty bad, being a really bad one.
Because I was about to say the video we did months ago, that special about going after dumb leftists and all that on the Ukraine war. There are a lot of people on the left, unfortunately, which is weird because almost all, like even the Squad and other progressives in Congress and such, overwhelmingly support giving Ukraine. But most people on the left, like online, no, it's kind of the opposite. Like Kyle, he's against it. Mike, he doesn't even talk about it. Although I'm very suspicious he would be against it.
We know that Kyle wants to that Kyle probably wants he doesn't want America to exist internationally. He just wants America to become a hermit state while China takes over the world.
Dole, he doesn't talk about it. TYT, oh my God, they're horrible. Don't get me started on Hassan as well. Majority report.
I'm not even kidding you. The only one who is good on this is Sam Cena.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Only Sam. Because the others aren't so great about it. Yeah.
Other than Bender, Vigeland has gotten better when she first started. Oh my God, she was really bad when Vosh covered him. And speak which, as much as I don't like him, Vosh is good on this. Although lately he hasn't been talking about it as much. The one who's been the best on this is Dylan Burns, of course, since he's fucking in Ukraine too. Being an actual war journalist.
Dylan's number one. Sam's number two.
Vosh is probably three. Yeah. But after those three, like it's. Like, the best case is maybe Dole and Mike, who just don't talk about it. Although, I personally feel Mike would probably be against it if it was brought up. Because, like, he, like, casually, like, dismissing it when he was talking about the A before without, like, saying it's bad or anything. Dole, at least, gave no impression of it for him not to talk about it. That's like the best thing afterwards. So yeah, and it's not only that too, guys. As we covered it before too, there are a lot of people on the left that are also against aid to Taiwan too, because they love China so much, which is which guys
Hassan again.
Which
we know that Hassan's a because you know that he's a China simp. He wants a unipolar world under China.
And guys, this is honestly probably even more infuriating than Ukraine, believe it or not. Because, you know, unlike Ukraine, you know what's great about Taiwan?
They're a democracy.
They are the most progressive country in East Asia.
Yeah.
They're the only one, too, other than maybe Mongolia. China is horrible. Japan, horrible. South Korea is probably the, believe it or not, other than China being authoritarian, South Korea might even be worse than Japan, as I've read up over the last few months. Like, almost all of Southeast Asia is bad, except for Taiwan. They are progressive. They're the only country in East Asia that actually has gay marriage legal, for crying out loud. They're pro-trans rights. They're probably better than America on a lot of this, on this stuff. So you would think that the left would support Taiwan in that regard because they support all of our issues, but nope. We're going to ignore all that because Pooh Bear or whatever. I don't get it. I find that even more hard to believe than with, like, the Ukraine stuff. Like, I really don't get it. And, of course, a lot of them are, like you brought up before, American Diabolists. They're too, black and white. There's no nuance on it, which we had to learn a lot over the last few years. And another thing, too, is the Hamas-Israeli war. Now, this one, by and large, they're better on because the left usually is for Palestinian rights.
The number of lefties who are pro-Hamas, my fucking God. Why do you think First Thought, Second Thought, and all of their associates got taken off Nebula? Because they were being pro-Hamas.
Like we had to go through like a major rethink of like the Ukrainian issue. Now we gotta go for like a rethink of like the Israeli thing because there's a lot more people that defend like October 7th than I would expect. Like, it's really, really pathetic on the left. Like, guys, what Israel's doing to the Palestinians is wrong 100%. We agree with you on that. But what Hamas did on 10/7 is absolutely unacceptable, condemned, and they do deserve to be destroyed.
Yes.
It was the second worst terrorist attack in world history, behind only 9/11. And proportion to Israel's population, it was not only the same, it might even be more in terms of population loss than America did in 9/11. What Hamas did was absolutely 100% unacceptable, and the fact that there are people on the left defend it, I can't believe it. I really can't believe it. And then you guys make us look bad, and we're called anti-Semites by pro-Israeli people, which makes us really angry.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. All right, so I think that's like the main issue of that, and then the next one is. A lot of people on the left are too pro-minority to an extreme sometimes.
Yeah.
And we brought up like woke and anti-white and all that. Like, a lot of people on the left defend minorities to an extreme degree that does not warrant it. Like they'll probably like defend cop killers, as you brought up. A lot on the left do that. Like, a lot of people were happy on all those videos about those 4 cops in Charlotte got killed recently. Unacceptable. But there's another thing too. This kind of, because Vosh is one thing Vosh is good at too. He goes after these people a lot of times too. Like the most obvious glaring example I can think of, that Professor Flowers, remember?
God.
Oh no! Oh my God, guys! Oh God, guys! If you don't know who she is a professor, which I think was disputed, that actually advocated land back, an extreme version of land back. For all of you don't know, that means giving land back to Native Americans that we stole from them. But she takes it to the extreme. Not like giving like Native Americans like some land back or stuff like that. She means outright deporting all white people out of America back to Europe and giving the country to Native Americans. She wants to ethnically cleanse America in the name of progression.
Revenge ethnic cleansing.
Yes. Yeah, guys. Like, and the funny thing is too, I don't even know if Vosh pointed this out. I think he might have done, but it's funny that she didn't bring up deporting blacks in that equation. Did you notice that? Even though the exact same arguments would apply, so blacks can stay even though they the same way stole land by not choice of their will because they were brought here as slaves, but they still weren't here. They're not native here, but they're allowed to stay. But us whites have to go. we see what the reality of it is. You just want to get, you
Yeah.
just want your Prussian Olympics and whatever. But like,
Mhm.
yeah, like what we did with the Native Americans, wrong, absolutely unacceptable, and all that. We agree with that. But let's just, oh yeah, like just like with like the pro-Hamas people that want to out on the left that want to get rid of Israel. Like Israel
Yeah.
should not have existed. I agree with that. They stole their land and all that when they were settled. I agree with that. But here's the thing. Israel has been around now for 70 years. America has been around for almost 250 years. It's settled now. There's no way out of it. Israel's going to be around no matter what, regardless of how we feel about it. America's going to be around no matter what. This is, and same goes for you down there with probably Aboriginal too, because I'm sure you probably I'm sure there's probably Aboriginals.
Yep, we've got our Aboriginal separatists.
Like this is now for us whites, our home just as much as it was their home. Like that's the reality of it. We're not gonna leave. This is our home now, and you can fuck off if you want to try and kick us out of here because we ain't leaving. And we're armed. And remember, America, we're armed to the teeth. Most guns in the world. We're gonna violently fight back if you try and kick us out because it's not happening. The only thing we can do is acknowledge what we did was wrong and fix it as best we can right now. That's the reality of it. But like, don't support these clowns like Professor Flower and such. Like this is being ridiculous. It's just being like anti-white and all that. Now we're getting, so we got a couple more left. And this one is, a lot of people on the left have a problem with women that actually willingly want to be trad-cons. Like stay-at-home moms and all that. Have you seen that? Because I have.
I have, yes.
There are, like, it's almost like a reverse of like conservatives who want to force women to be at home all day. Like a lot of people on the left don't like women who actively, willingly choose to be stay-at-home moms, and they want them to be working all that. Guys, like, here's the reality of it. There are a lot of women that just really want to do it. I think the majority of women, if we look at polls, do want to actually be stay-at-home moms. Now, of course, they have to. Most of them probably got to work still because you can't live on one side like you could back in the 50s and such. So there probably will be working all that. But if they had the choice, a lot of women do want to stay home. And you know what? That is 100% fine if they choose to do that. There's nothing wrong with it. Like they're not defending or promoting patriarchy or whatever stupid crap you think of. If they want to do that, if they willingly choose to do that, you gotta accept it. Just like the right needs to also accept the fact that there are a lot of women who want to work and they can go cry about it if they don't like it.
Yeah.
Like I don't get what the problem with a lot of left is that they can't just accept that there are a lot of women that do like want to do like the submissive crap. And we're gonna get that a little bit.
I think they've got, honestly, I think probably quite a few of them have some kind of trauma about it. Having stuff like that.
Yeah, and then they take it out on other women.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into that a little bit too coming up as well. Porn. Sometimes a lot of people on the left are puritanical. There are a lot of puritanical.
Yes, Australia. We're pushing. Our government's pushing to have age verification on porn in Australia.
Just like America has done several states.
Domestic violence.
Oh, are they against like the BDSM porn like the UK is? Remember? Oh, for fuck's sake! Like, because there are a lot of people on the left that don't like porn.
I'm surprised how many swerfs we have in the more serfs than swerfs because they're not like arguing against sex work, but just like
they just don't like sex.
Porn and that to go after sex more generally.
Yeah, like a lot of people on the left are sex negative. Like they have a lot of problems with sex. Like a lot of
why do you think there are so many serfs and swerfs around? Oh yeah, one person I didn't realize was how much of a serf and a swerf they were when I first saw the few videos I did see. Anita Sarkeesian. She was a massive surf and swerve.
Oh yeah, a lot on the left get mad when you make fun of her and criticize her. Remember? You're just part Gamergate if you criticize her. Shut the fuck up. She lied about
I hate that Gamergate, but unfortunately, Anita Sarkeesian
sucks.
Was not a good representative of.
Yeah, she lied about video games. She hates like sexy women, all that, and like just stop. There's nothing to defend about her. Just stop. She sucks. There's a reason why video gamers, even on the left, don't like her. She sucks. She sucks. She sucks. We're not sexist. We're against misogyny and all the rape threats and sexual assault allegations or whatever that happened to her, that's wrong. But what she's saying was wrong. And oh my god, don't get me started on that other stupid cunt that was involved too. Oh my god, what was her name again? I don't even want to remember her name. Oh, that's right. They're non-binary now. God, what was their name again? Oh my god, I don't even really want to remember because I've looked up into them afterwards and they did some really heinous stuff that would make Ania Sarkeesian look like a progressive in comparison. Oh god.
Oh wow.
But we're off topic. Yeah, back to porn. Like, a lot of people have problems with porn and all that. Like, guys, there's nothing wrong with porn. It's consenting adults, or in a case of hentai, they're not real. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. People willingly want to do this stuff. And if they want to do it, that's fine. It should be legal. Just like prostitution should be legal, too. Sex is a commodity that people want to buy. And if they want to, so be it. Get over it. It's like, again, it's not like misogyny or like promoting, defending patriarchy, all that. Sex just sells. People want sex. The vast majority of people who want sex are men. So therefore, the vast majority of people involved in like, porn stuff are going to be women. Because that's what us men like to see. It's not that hard to understand. And then sex, of course, we just got into porn a little bit. There's a lot of people on the left that are sex negative. It's actually funny enough. The left has a lot of problems with sex from on both sides. You have, like, we just talked about, like, the sex negative people, but you also have, like, a lot of people on the left that are, like, hardcore, like, pro-sex to the point where if people don't want to, like, fuck or anything like that, they say, like, they're prudes and such.
Yeah.
Like, if people don't want to fuck, there's nothing wrong with them. Just like there's nothing wrong if you're a virgin, but even by choice, there's nothing wrong with it. Not everyone wants to fuck. Like, asexuality does exist, people.
Yep, it's a big thing, yeah.
Yeah, and such. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. If people don't want to, fuck, or they don't want to fuck that often, whatever, it's fine. Like, stop. Like, don't like go after people who want to fuck all the time, like conservatives and swerfs doing whatever. But there are people who don't want to fuck all the time or whatever. They don't think about whatsoever. Just let them be and stop. And then, of course, we're going to get to this as well because I've seen this a lot, personally for me on the left, drugs. More particularly weed. Because I've seen a lot of people...
You know all this shit about...
Vosh.
Careful specifically. Holy...
I do not know about this. I know Vosh has been having meltdown videos recently going after, like, weed users. They're having a meltdown about him about it. And
so it's part of the drug problems Keffels has, and tons of people using that against her.
Oh, I did not know about
that. Remember she was going to kill herself using a heroin overdose.
Yeah, I remember that. Maybe you need to show me that video later, because I don't know about this new thing that happened. But, like, what I'm talking about, guys, is there are a lot of people left. This is more like weed, but there are a lot of people left that really like to try and, like, rub it in your face about, like, they smoke weed and all that. Like, they want to try and get you to smoke weed, and if you have no interest in it, they would, like, just like with sex, they'll call you, like, a prude or whatever. Like, just like with sex, like me. I support legalizing not just weed, all drugs. All drugs should be legalized. Let people do whatever they want. But I'm clean. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs. I have no interest in all that. You do you, I'll do me. I'd rather stay home, play video games, and watch anime and read manga now and stuff like that. That's my pleasure stuff. You do your thing, I'll do my thing. Like, don't, like, keep, like, harassing me and all that because I don't have any interest in doing weed and all that. Like, it doesn't make me prude, I just don't have any interest in it because I have no interest in drugs. You do you, I'll do me. Have you seen it? Because, oh my god, I've seen it so much. Even along, like, progressive YouTubers a lot lately. The only one that absolutely does not do that is Vosh. His recent meltdown recently on it. Which I feel I have, like, such a conflicted thing on Vosh in that one. On one hand, I like that he supports kind of like my position on it, but he went, like, a little bit too far in the other direction, too. And stuff. It was, like, really weird. So, yeah, what about you? Do you see, like, people on the left down there being, like, prudish about porn, sex, and, like, using drugs?
Drugs, not so much, but sex, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my god, I get so frustrated by them.
What, from both angles?
Yeah. Mainly with sex more than negative stuff.
What,
more sex negativity and the surf stuff.
What's more frequently?
The negativity and the surf stuff.
Yep, of course. and such. So yeah, like, what do you guys say about all this stuff that the left needs to do better on?
There's certainly a lot of things we need to work on.
Yeah, because guys, like, a lot of these things, guys, are actively keeping us from winning. And the ultimate goal, because I don't know about you all, I want to win and I want to get progressive policies in. We can't win if we look like idiots to a bunch of people that will not vote for us and get fascist Republicans in. We have to also clean house too and all that. I think we talked about this before, but I want to talk about it again because it's really been bugging me lately. Especially, oh my god, with the drug thing with Vosh lately. Because I've been getting a lot, even more shit recently, annoyed with that. Because I have no interest in doing drugs, even though I want them to be legalized. People still call me a prude. Oh my god, this is funny. Do you remember Alex Zeon?
The name rings a vague bell.
Like the main troll on Kyle's channel back like in 2015.
Oh, yes.
What if I told you one time because do you remember the video Kyle did a study on, it was something about alcohol, I can't remember what it was, health benefits or whatever about alcohol.
Probably,
I said in the video I have no interest in drinking, whatever. He called me a pussy because I didn't want to drink.
Wow. I'm more just reminded of the Aaron 50 NPC body counts Dixon.
Hey, remember Jimbo?
Channel.
Why am I pink or whatever? Oh my god, the nostalgia with these clowns!
Distant one.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god, didn't Why Am I Pink debate Sam Cedar? Wasn't that like a
and got crushed.
Why am I not surprised? A libertarian idiot debating the best progressive that debates?
Yeah.
When are you all gonna learn? You can't beat Sam on this. I'm telling you. Don't even try. You're gonna look like an idiot.
Yeah.
But, oh my god. So yeah, I'm a pussy because I don't drink. Oh, then he called me a cuck later on. No surprise.
What?
This is 2015.
Wow.
Yep, because I'm pro open relationship. I'm a cuck for that. I think, oh my god, I think he even went, like, he wants his woman to get fucked by black men. Like, oh, okay, pal. I think he even said that one time. Not surprised from Alex Zeon. Oh, the nostalgia remembering those trolls from 10 years ago and making fun of them. It's nice to know someone else remembers those idiots too.
Yeah.
Bring back good memories, don't it? Please, you gotta show me that video of Why Am I Pink getting destroyed by Cedar. I have to watch it for a laugh. But anyways, guys, yeah, a lot on the left.
Oh, here we go. This is all the NPC bot troll accounts he used. I counted them.
Oh my
god. The times is how many different versions he did of them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's every single one of them over the last 5 to 6 years. Aaron Dixon, 11 Alabama Man accounts, 2 Ilan Brothers Omar as Ilan Omar accounts, 3 other Ilan Omar accounts, 1 10% of the Big Guy account, 5 Let's Go Brandon accounts, 2 The Dissident Right accounts, 4 All Progressive the Charles Rumors accounts, 4 Mandatory Helicopter Rides accounts, 1 Obama 65K Hot Dog account, 2 Base Food Pillow accounts, 2 Leon DeGraw accounts, 3 GOP Rebel Victory accounts, 1 A Bridge 2 Fire account, 2 Sandy from Westchester accounts, and 3 Beautiful Trouble and Base Communist accounts.
Oh, I think I remember the Base Communist one. Oh my gosh. oh wow. That's just insane. But yeah, guys, off topic. Like, on the left, we need to do better if we're going to win. We have to kick out all these clowns that make us look bad so we can crush Republicans and all that to win. All right. That was a long talk, and I feel much better getting that done. And, of course, we'll probably in a few months again maybe talk about it in the future. Who knows? But anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up here. And see you all next time for episode 102. Which, by the way, will be next week to avoid the World Finals. So see you all next week.